to Eden Fractal meeting number 39. Today is Wednesday, March 1st, and we've been hanging out mostly talking about Marco's new timeline feature he's building on his website. Also some other interesting topics as well. And there's been lots of interesting and exciting subjects going on in the Eden Fractal Telegram chats and throughout the week too. So I figure that I'll share a quick recap of last week's meeting and the topics on the agenda that we have for today. There's 4 different topics that we have on the agenda after the Eden plus Fractal consensus game. And then maybe we'll open it up for a little discussion, and then we'll go into breakout rooms in about 5 minutes or so. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'm super grateful for everybody. Would anybody like to say would anybody like to say anything before I go into the presentation? And if not, then that's all right. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, cool. So, all right. So, as I mentioned the past few weeks, edenfractal.com/videos, where people can find recent meetings with all the videos. And I've also been doing some show notes, just trying to make sure that everybody knows that this is a resource that's available where you can check out timestamps and check out some highlights of the meeting. Lenny's also doing excellent recaps as well. So several different places where you can learn about recent meetings, and you can scroll down and see the past however many meetings I've been doing some show notes for the past 10 meetings or so. This last week, we had our 38th meeting approximately 7 days ago when we discussed the vision of Eden Fractal, 2 proposals for our mission, and a proposal to add a participant agreement to our community account. You can check out highlights here, as well as the topics that we discussed and the timestamps, and then some related posts. So for one thing, Douglas joined and he shared what he's planning on with Aquarius Academy, which is really cool. You can check out the timestamps where he introduced that, and then some links here. I encourage everybody, I feel like Eden Fractal is a really great way to help promote people's work and share what they're doing. So I encourage people to do it like Douglas did and share a little bit about what he's doing here, and appreciate him checking that out. So you can check that in the show notes. He's also planning on integrating some Eden Fractal consensus games too, which is really cool. And then I also put together an article last week and refined it this week about Eden Fractal's vision, which was largely inspired by what Eric was sharing over the past few months about visions and missions, and also by James Mart's excellent articles. You can check out the topics that we discussed about Eden Fractal participant agreements and the vision and our mission, and that I proposed and Patrick proposed, and also timestamps. And then there's a bunch of related posts about past meetings and so forth. Today, we're going to go into the breakout rooms and play Eden plus Fractal in a couple minutes. After that, we're going to be doing the agendas consensus game, where we do community agendas. I encourage everybody to both make proposals if there's a topic that you'd like to discuss or proposal you'd like to make, and then secondly, also vote on proposals if you'd like to help prioritize different topics. Putting together this article at edenfractal.com/welcome. It's not super ready. I've been working with Rosmari and a few other people on making this better. But here's a place where you can learn about how this game works, and we're going to get more details better soon. So far on the agenda today, we have 4 topics, last I checked, that are proposed. Currently, the one that has the most votes is from Rosmari, using Notion as a collaborative tool. So looking forward to hearing that from Rosmari. And then I made a mission or a proposal for our mission to help communities collaborate, create public goods, and empower communities. I also made a proposal for creating an Eden Fractal participant agreement, same one from last week. And Perry made a topic discussion proposal for let's discussing our missing mission. So we have that to look forward to. There's also some new channels in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat. Noam started a mission chat. Thank you, Noam, for starting that. And then I also started up an agreements chat too, or topic, I should say. So I encourage everybody to join the Eden Fractal Telegram chat at t.me/EdenFractal if you're not here already. And also Patrick shared a post here. I don't know if Patrick's on the call right now, but Patrick shared a post with the recent brainstorming session that we had yesterday discussing the role of delegates. And he also mentioned that he's planning to put the brainstorming sessions on a pause for the time being. You can read more about it here in the Telegram chat. And you can also learn more about the role of delegates at this article, the Eden plus Fractal system that we use that Das created. Welcome also, by the way, to Das and Vlad and everybody. You can find more details out here. And then lastly, the last thing I mentioned before was that we are talking with Marco about the new timeline he's building with an overview of the EOS network. If Marco, you want to share a few quick comments on this before we head into breakout rooms, then feel free. But basically, Marco put together a nice timeline with the history of EOS here, with links to many different major events with the history. So we were discussing this and all the potential and all the ways it can help people learn and curate good resources and so forth. And Mark was saying that he's thinking about doing one for Eden Fractal too. So Anyway, we'll go into breakout rooms in the next couple minutes. Hope that you all enjoyed the presentation, and floor is open now. If Marco or perhaps Noam or Rosmari or Eric or anybody would like to share anything, then feel free. Thanks, everyone.
No, you said it well. I just want to do something like that for evening with the help of the community, rather than just my own insight from news I've covered over the years, and something that everyone in the community can use.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Marco. I'm looking forward to helping collaborate with the timelines and using them and sharing them with people to help people understand all the cool things in the history of EOS and Eden. I suppose now is a good time to go into the breakout rooms. We're 1 minute past the top of the hour, and we just have Pascal joining too. So let's see, we have 12, 13, 14 people. So that means we'll have 4 breakout rooms. The breakout rooms might have 4 to 5 people in each room. And then if more people join, then they'll have some extra space as well. Okay, cool. I'll open up the rooms now. Hope everybody has a great time.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Vlad. Hey, Noam. Hey, Pascal. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Okay. I guess I'm starting to get the feel for the fact that I do know half the people here, which is very different from what the fractally white paper describes.
Right. It's not
my
quite
third reading and I
7,000.
already know half the people.
Pascal, by the way, your video looks weird. It had me and Noam popping up. I guess your camera's still freaking out a little bit since last week as well.
I think it's due to the updates. Because I made an update of Zoom, so I'm having a problem with that. So
Okay, it's strange because it looks like very clear right now, but it just and then you have Noam just chilling up
now I can
up
see
above you.
myself. Yeah. I didn't see it before, but now I saw it.
you see it's a mess.
Okay, cool.
Fine.
Well, that's all right. It makes for some fun, interesting visual effects that I'm sure people enjoy.
Oh, hi, Vlad.
Hi.
Would you like to join on the camera, Vlad? It'd be good to see you, although if you're busy, that's okay too.
I'm eating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Cool. Well, personally, I don't mind, but up to you however you want to do it. And I hope you're enjoying your food. What are you eating?
It's a big piece of chicken
Oh,
and some quinoa.
Looks good.
I'm gonna turn it off and I'll be back. I'll finish it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, cool. So I suppose while Vlad is enjoying the cuisine, we can get into the process. First off, would anybody like to moderate it, or would you like me to moderate it? I'm happy to do so if we'd like. But throwing it out there in case anybody else would like to.
yeah, you can go ahead, Dan.
Okay.
Your camera is fine.
It sounds good. Yeah, that does make sense. And I see Noam's camera too. You still have some weird things going on with your camera where you have like, I guess, a pillow behind you that's going up there.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
My tablet is moving, so it thinks the pillow is moving, and that means that it's not part of the scenery.
Right. Okay. Well,
Every time
cool.
I breathe, it decides that the pillow is alive.
Right. Okay. Well, I suppose it looks like a kind of a spaceship in a way, and I do prefer it to the ants. I'm happy that with that the ants kind of freaked me out a little bit. They were cool, but they were also kind of weird looking. But anyway.
Yeah, I think when I get a chance to upload my orbits, I'll put them as the background. But this is a new tablet. The old one died last week.
Okay, Cool. Looking forward to the orbits. Those orbits are really cool, and I remember you had a big role in designing that too. So looking forward to diving in deeper. But anyway, I suppose would anybody like to share their contributions and share what they've been doing to help the community and stuff, and go first? I can go first if you all want, but if Noam or Vlad or Pascal, you want to go first, then that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan. I'll go after you.
Okay, cool. Sounds good, Pascal. I will do it now. I feel like we've been getting kind of a slow start here, but since we only have 4 people, it's okay to hang on, take our time a bit more. Okay, so this week I have been looking into the eye of Eden Fractal. That's just the one that I started to, that's just the images I started with here. But yeah, this week I've been doing a lot of work as always. I've one of the main things I did was publish the show notes for the 38th meeting. Actually, this wasn't a huge amount of effort compared to the other things, but overall, it just consistently making this video every week. I had to do some basic editing each week to make it look good, and then go through all the process of producing and stuff like that, and also making a nice new thumbnail for each one, and writing a little bit to summarize it, as well as sharing it in a bunch of different groups. So it's something that I'm always doing every week, putting the show notes together. And then I wrote a couple little stories for the highlights, as I shared during the intro meeting. I won't go over too much here, but I wrote out all these things and provided some links to help promote Douglas's work with the Aquarius Academy, and also his upcoming thoughts with the Eden Fractal tool integration, and also about the vision. That article that I published there, I made updates to that too. And then, yeah, I curated all these things that I showed you already basically during the top of the hour. So I won't go over it too much, but there are also more links here at the bottom to different articles that are helpful for the community. I made 3 proposals, or actually 2 proposals. So I made a proposal for our mission to help people collaborate and create public goods and empower communities. And then I made another proposal for creating Eden Fractal Participant Agreement. Both of these were pretty much copy and paste from last week, although I did change the to help people collaborate. That was largely inspired by Noam's thoughts and Vlad's thoughts about the mission. I felt like just helping people collaborate is a bit more intuitive and simpler than fostering collaboration or promoting collaboration. I also did updates too to the previous articles I released last week. So fairly minor updates, but to the agreement articles, where you can learn about the agreements for Eden Fractal, or just for communities in general, and why it's helpful. And then I added some recent updates with the recent meetings and the meeting with Vlad and so forth, where we discussed these matters. So did that, and then I made a new channel, topic in the Telegram channel for agreements, and posted some updates here about, posted along with the article and some contextual links here, the poll to vote on this proposal. And I did a similar thing also. I updated the mission page with some new parts and recent progress over here, where you can learn. It's not loading right now, but there's like recent proposals and stuff like that, continuing to update that. And then I also went back to the mission page too, and I renamed that. Sorry, Patrick is joining the group right now, so I'm just going to assign him to the room when I can.
Yeah.
Room 3 for Patrick. Okay, cool. And sorry, it is kind of long, by the way. I meant to set my timer, but I didn't actually, so I'm not sure how long I had, but I'll try to wrap it up pretty quickly. So yep, there's that. I went back and I added more thoughts to here. Thank you very much, Noam, for starting that. And you can see more thoughts about the mission, trying to get these proposals on the roll over here, and explain and provide a good forum for discussion. I also hosted Eden Town Hall, the 39th one, where we discussed lots of topics. This video will be coming up pretty soon. I'm a little bit backed up on the video editing and so forth, but you can see the agenda that we discussed. There was about 9 or 10 people who joined, and we had a great discussion. We heard from Hernan about all the stuff he's been doing, and the upcoming town hall about dams, and Eden Fractal, discussing Eden Fractal stuff, the mission of Eden Fractal, the vision, agreement. A lot of this was kind of summarizing the past few weeks of Eden Fractal. Also ESB's updates we heard from Nicola, and we talked about the structure of Eden with Telegram, Notion, Haifa, and ENF News, and then some open discussions with some links too. So that's all at edentownhall.com/episodes. I also did another meeting when we recorded it with Vlad, where we discussed all sorts of helpful stuff. I don't even remember what it was off the top of my head. And I recorded a podcast with Rosmari too. I've been meeting with Rosmari often, and we've been collaborating on a bunch of different stuff, like the Welcome article. We also met with Noam a couple weeks ago about this, and she's starting a kind of a new show called Community Story. So she interviewed me and is going to be teaming up as a Mellow Pitch and helping to promote community stories. So that was really cool. And I participated in the Eden Factor brainstorming session and co-hosted with Patrick as well, discussing the role of delegates. And then that's basically as far as the windows I have, but then a couple of quick other things I did. One thing that I'm really excited about, I spoke with Michael Yeats from Alien Worlds after the Crown DAC call and the unconference planning session that Lisa's hosting, and spoke with him for a while about integrating Eden Fractal tools into Alien Worlds, and he's excited to do that. And then I met with him and Dominic and some people from the Haifa team to work on some integrations with potentially Haifa, Eden, Fractally, and stuff like that with Alien Worlds. I also messaged and met with Perry for a while talking about decentralization, and I participated in the Art Fractal as well, where we did a really cool new process to select art for a t-shirt. So that's that, and hope you all enjoyed. And would anybody like to go next?
Yeah, maybe I can go.
Yes, Pascal. Cool, thanks.
Thanks, Dan, and then thanks for your great work. You are doing amazing things there. So it's good for the community. So most of what I've been doing this week is to, as you know, I launched Tiagori 2 weeks ago, and then I've been monitoring to see exactly how things are going. I mean, I want to share my screen so that you see exactly what I've been doing. So I'll just share very quickly so I have time. So basically, Tiagori is it's an on-chain platform. It's powered by Hive, which is a social networks blockchain. So what I do with Hive, I get people that write content about EOS and Bitcoin get rewarded. So it's an on-chain platform. So when you post on tiagori.com, your contents go on the blockchain, and you get rewarded when people like or comments on your contents. So this week, we have been publishing an article about Pomelo campaign, when it's going to launch, and also article about the Hive EOS EVM mainnet that is planned to launch in April 14. And then other social networks. I believe in this concept of social finance, where we can combine social with DeFi, and then make it like composable. How can I write an article on one platform, and then this article is in other platforms? So this is composable social finance. And Tiagori is now present on Leo. Leo is another social network for content creator, but is finance, related to finance. So I can publish what we are doing here in terms of DeFi on EOS, on Leo Finance, and then get rewarded not only in Rio token, but in Hive token and in Tiago token. So it's composable. I can use one content and then get rewarded in many platforms. This is coming out very in the broad blockchain ecosystem. It's very interesting what's happening. Even the Bitcoin ecosystem, Lightning Network is powering content creators. I also, when I experienced Snow, Nostra. Nostra is it's a Lightning Network micro publishing platform. So I created an account there, and then tried to get the notion of fractal governance in those platforms, because these are socials, how to organize ourselves. And then the cool things on Nostra is that you can easily send someone Satoshis, which is mind-blowing. You can send Sat to somebody just by clicking on the post. You choose 15 Sats, and then you give it directly. I would really love to give Satoshi to Dan. Dan is creating a lot of content, but if his content is it's on these platforms, it's easy for us to just, I call it value to value, to send to them something that he's doing. When we see his content, Satoshi is Bitcoin. So I really want us to bring this kind of value to value exchange in our community, in our fractal communities, to reward those that are doing something, publishing content, doing videos, meetings. These are valuable things. And then I think if we put in Eden Fractal, if we have opportunity to share this kind of tools to our community members, we may be getting new people joining and then creating more like cross-community reward system. So that's what I've been doing this week. Try to bridge in other communities, use what we have, and then share the idea of fractal governance based on the reward system that is building already. Thanks. So if there's any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, Pascal. I see Vlad has the hands up. I also have a question too. Vlad, go ahead first.
Looks interesting, the platform. Just wondering about the tokenomics. So what's the algorithm? How the TIA
token,
yeah, how it's distributed between the content creators?
Okay, Tiago uses level 2 of Hive blockchain. This is a level 2 smart contract. So it's the same mechanism. So if you have Tiago Power, it's a 2-token system. Tiago, which is the liquid token, and then Tiago Power, which is the power to give. Okay. So if you have Tiago Power, you can, when you like somebody contents, that person receive Tiago. He received the liquid one. The design is the same as Hive blockchain. It's the same design 6 years ago, that damn design. And then this is the initial idea we had with Fractally, to give power to those that will share when they earn their power during Fractal meetings. This power, they can use it to upvote contents on social networks. So at this moment, I'm basically the let's say the superpower, on Tiago. But my intent is to have Tiago Fractal, where I delegate the power to the community members, and then for 1 year, and then from there they can go and vote to those contents. But it's token weighted, So the more somebody has Tiago Power, the more his vote will weight. The weight will be the number of Tia that he gives is important. And then those power at this stage, my plan is to give it to those who attend Tiago Fractal meetings by delegating, because on Hive blockchain, we have a feature that you can delegate power to somebody. You can delegate your token to somebody, not giving, you delegate to him, and he can do everything. He can power, he can like, he can share. So it's a feature that I'm using on layer 2, Hive layer 2 blockchain.
Okay, so you're thinking to do it in a way where those people who will hold the respect, they will be able to sort of dictate who gets the rewards, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Exactly.
Can their respect be traded?
Yeah, it's liquid.
Which means
now,
somebody can buy a lot of respect and then take over.
It's possible. I haven't went through the detail of taking over, but you can do it.
Justin Sun did it to Hive, to Steam before it became Hive. So
yeah,
we know it happens.
Yeah, you can do it. There's nothing. You can do it. It's the market. The token is on the market. But now, is it realistic? It would be difficult because that, like, as of today, there's liquidity problem. So if you want to buy a lot of Tiago Power, you will be moving the market in a high, very, very high price. Yeah, that's in a positive way, you know, the community will be happy. But I believe the council organized in a fractal way could have its says on how we want to make sure that the system is balanced, you know, as we move. So the fractal governance can play a role there. Now, we don't have control on people buying or selling the token. It's liquid. I wanted the market to give it some value to if is it worthy or it's not worthy. So that's what it's. Yeah, but there's liquidity. Liquidity problem is challenging in the market at this point. So, which is another subject. You know, how to create liquidity. One of my short-term goal is to create trading pairs between TIA token and EOS token on the platform, the same platform, so that they can swap between Tiago tokens and EOS tokens in the short term.
Is the Tiago traded on any of the wallets that have multiple coins?
No, at this point, it's just on Hive using the peg Hive token. So I can swap from Tiago to Hive. Very
Okay,
easy.
and once you swap to Hive, you can swap to anything else. You just have to pay the commission twice.
Yeah. But you need to create the market first. So there's some cost there to create the market. But now it's only one market. It's only Tiago with Hive.
Okay.
The next is gonna be Tiago and EOS. That's all.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And liquidity. Yeah.
Thanks, Pascal and Noam. I feel like Noam wants to ask more questions. I also have a question too that I want to ask Pascal, and also there's only 4 of us, but we still should probably also get on to Noam's and Vlad's contribution soon. Did you want to ask something more, Noam, before I ask my question?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Pascal, I was wondering, you showed Nostr, or I guess there was a different interface for Nostr that had a different name.
Yeah, it's an interface.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, how does that relate? Is that just like basically you doing research and promoting Calgary on different platforms and seeing how they work? Or is there actually like some sort of connection between, because Nostr's on the Bitcoin network, as far as I understand. And I said it uses Satoshi. So I'm wondering, how does it relate to Calgary?
I want Calgary to be in other platforms, in other social blockchain-based social platform. So if personally, at a personal level, I publish a content on Tiagori, I would love that content also to be published on other social networks, blockchain-based social networks. So that was the idea of exploring other blockchains, social networks that have integrated already a token mechanism. So Nostra is working with Satoshi's Bitcoin, and then it was amazing how I can just send 5 Satoshi, 10 Satoshi to somebody. For me, it's a lot. The capability of giving somebody to somebody on a social network. So that's the idea of bringing Tiagori to other platforms. Because on those platforms, I can talk about governance, fractal governance, how I do fractal governance in Tiagori, how EOS is doing governance, how we organize ourselves. There's audience there, so it's sharing those kind of ideas in other blockchain-based social networks. That's I'm really pushing to like even EOS contents. I noticed that other blockchains, most they don't have they think EOS is dead, but and then they have very cool project in other even on Hive. But if you can bridge, find a way to bridge communities, but doing it socially, I think EOS will have a nice shot. No. In terms of,
Yep.
yeah. Even developers is the key. So. Thanks.
I agree. Great points. Thank you, Pascal. And yeah, I think that's really valuable how you're both building the Agori and then also testing out and expanding and sharing, spreading the word on platforms. I've heard a lot about Nostr, so thank you so much for sharing all that. And then
Thanks.
also, I realized that I also forgot to mention, I think it's obvious, but if anybody wanted to ask me any questions about my presentation or my work, then feel free, of course, throughout the call. But I don't know if Pascal, if you want to nominate Vlad or Noam to go next. I know.
I'll go to
Oh, was that
no. No.
Okay. I might also suggest, if I were you, Noam, if maybe you want to just turn off the background, because sometimes it makes your face look weird, like the stars go over there. I mean, it's not a huge deal either way, but it does look kind of strange sometimes, which or I suppose doing that.
Maybe if I sit down, it's gonna work a little better.
Yeah, it looks much better when you sit down and well.
Find the right distance. Okay.
Okay, the camera's a little bit low right now, but other than that, it looks much better. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Noam. I appreciate that.
So I've been doing a lot of reading, trying to figure out what EOS is, what wallets are doing in the last 10 years. And the more I look at it, the more frustrated I get. I also attended the meeting with the brainstorming meeting with Dan and Vlad and Das and Patrick. It was very interesting for first time. And I think I figured out why Perry has so many objections to some of the things that are going on, because when you do the brainstorming sessions, the people who are there say what they think. There's no opportunity for the rest of the people to really say anything. And I'm not sure where it all goes. So I think I might need to stick around for a few more weeks before I figure out how everything actually fits together eventually. And that's part of the process that I'm going through. A lot of correspondence with Dan. I started a few sub discussions in Telegram that Dan mentioned. And I'm not sure how useful they are, but they're useful for me. And I think they're floating some of the issues that Eden Fractal is going to have to deal with if we want to grow and be available to new members. If we think long term, if we want Eden Fractal to still be around 5 years from now, after some of us have already left, we need to think about turnover and about how to onboard new people, how to summarize all the rich history that not only Eden Fractal, but Fractally and Genesis have contributed. What is it that Eden Fractal is at its core? What's not just our mission, but our values, and how we're different from all the past, how we're what we're taking from the past and what we're taking to the future. I think all those things need to fit. They would need more than a few sentences that are going to be in the mission statement, but they still need to be as short as an executive summary, because you want somebody who's just joining to be able to read them and hit the ground running. And as much as I like everything that Dan is writing, it's not that. So I'm hoping Rosmari and Dan eventually come up with something that does give an executive summary, a 1 or 2 page introduction that actually tells people how to hit the ground running and how to become productive members of Eden Fractal. I think that's pretty much what I have to report. The rest is comments here and there that I don't think need to go on. So I'd like to hear from Vlad.
Good points, Noam. Can I ask about the first? You said you don't like the wallets at all. Why is that?
30 years ago, I used to be the sysadmin of a department computer at the Technion in Israel. And I was in charge of security. So I figured out what happens, what doesn't happen. I've worked with military where security was needed. I've been in military units that worked on very classified stuff where their passwords were so easy to break that somebody broke all their passwords. It was an April Fool's joke, and and only after that did the security officer take him seriously. So I have some experience with it, but for the last 20 years, I've let other people who wear the hat of the security person. When I worked at MITRE, I was doing FAA stuff, aircraft flying back and forth. I didn't have to worry about computer security because the people doing computer security in MITRE were the inspiration for Jack Ryan in Clancy's novels. I actually played chess and Go with those people. So I knew that I was in good hands when I was looking at security. In a way, that puts me in a place where my standards for security are pretty high. And at those standards, I don't think that the wallets that we're seeing on the market right now are living up to what really could be done, what the technology is. The best thing I've seen before I joined Eden, before I actually looked into EOS, was the Gnosis safe. And they were still in development. And as far as I could tell, they stopped creating new things about 2 years ago. And whatever they had was good enough. They weren't going any further. And I think the next stage of evolution is probably going to be something that's related to the soulbound tokens that Vitalik Buterin is talking about. But those, I don't think anybody's coming out with them yet, and they probably won't be ready for use in the next year or two. So my overall impression is we have to live with what we have, but there are no really good solutions right now. I would love to hear from you, Vlad, about your experience and why you prefer or trust some wallets over others.
Well, I don't have such a rich background, but what do you see as a vulnerability? So the main vulnerability with Anchor, let's say.
The biggest vulnerability with wallets is that people can forget their wallets, can forget their password, then they lose the Bitcoin. They can write it down somewhere and somebody finds the piece of paper and steals everything they have. Or they could put it in a safe in two different banks, half here, half there. And then the only way they can access it is by going through a project that they probably don't want to go through every time. So obviously, if you want to put something in a safe, it's you wouldn't put something that if it's worth a few $1 million, then yeah, you would put it in two safes and take all the security measures. If it's worth only a few $100s, you can use a hot wallet. But when you're talking about your identity is worth everything you are. you don't want to deal with identity theft. So even if it's worth only a few dollars, you don't want to compromise it. And for the last few years, one of the ways to deal with that, and that's something that we're seeing here at Eden Fractal, you also have Bright ID and Idena and a few other places where you prove identity through a video.
Mm.
And presumably up until a year or two ago, it was very hard to spoof a video. And I'm not sure how long that's going to last, because we've got really good fakes coming out now. And with people focusing on privacy, those are only going to get better. So it's an exciting time to live through, and I'm not complaining about the fact that there isn't a solution, because you don't expect to have a solution when you're a pioneer. Not everything will have a solution.
Mm.
But I think it's important to recognize that we are pioneers, and that as pioneers, we can't expect safety. We also can't expect to have both decentralization and efficiency, because those two pull in opposite directions.
Mm.
So that's what I have to say from now. I would love to hear from you, Vlad, because you've been actually doing some of this stuff. And I haven't done any programming on security stuff in more than 20 years, so I'm completely outdated.
Well, in regards to like losing the password, you always have this seed phrase. So it's really up to the individual to properly store this seed phrase. And there is a lot of considerations for that. Like there was a good episode, Bankless is one YouTube channel.
Yeah, I saw a few of his episodes. I don't know if I saw the same one, but
The one, like I think it was yesterday, there was a live stream with the Ledger's CTO, and he like explained what are the best practices of storing the seed. So I don't know how it would be could be improved even further. With Gnosis Safe, as I understand, that they just offer the multi-signature on Ethereum,
yes.
right?
Yeah, the multi-sig and the social recovery are essential
Mm-hmm.
if you want to have a decentralized community
Yeah, I
that
mean,
allows for things like inheritance, like social recovery, and things like that. And
mhm.
I think Gnosis is the only one I've seen that's established and offers multi-sig.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's on Ether. When I looked at it, it was only available on the Ether chain, where the gas fees are so high that you wouldn't use it for a few dollars.
mhm.
No, you can't use even Ether. Yeah, it's a broken technology. People it's just money, but it's a broken tech in the tech space. I've tried that. No,
What do you think
micropayment.
is the broken tech?
Hmm?
What did you say was broken?
I'm saying it's a broken technology in my own analysis, personal analysis.
You're talking about Ethereum, Gnosis, or
Ethereum.
EOS?
Ethereum. Ethereum at this point is not ready for prime time. It's not ready for prime time. This
Yeah.
week, just to explain, Coinbase, they launched their own chain, layer 2 chain. And on the layer 2 chain, they offer free NFT to their members, so everybody can mint free NFT. The company is trying to give free NFT to its members. I went on the platform and then tried to mint free NFT, zero fee. But Ethereum asked me $7. You know? So the problem is not the Coinbase. The problem is the protocol in which he's offering those NFTs. You know? So if I have a business, I'm a business owner, I want to give free things to my user, but the protocol doesn't allow me to do it. You know, so
Did you try Polygon or Optimism?
No, there was not option. They didn't have that option. It was directly from. But that's why I realized, oh my shit, EOS is powerful in terms of ability to do huge amount of things freely. We should be celebrating EOS. So, but people don't know about those things. Even safety in EOS is mind blowing. We have account threshold, multi-sig. It's built-in. Now, it will just take time for people to build those solutions. But in our protocol, the basis, we have everything, guys, on EOS.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gnoss is safe.
How is EOS different from Terra and from FTX?
So, I mean, it's a lot different, but we do have to come to
Yeah,
consensus pretty soon.
Okay, yeah,
So
we should get that
I think that's
I
offline.
think we should
another-
buy, but Terra and FTX were both huge implosions, basically, where people stole a lot of money. So it's very, very different from that. Also, I'll add,
Well, how do we know that there isn't going to be an implosion on EOS? That's my question. I know that those were much more centralized than EOS is.
yeah,
That's not.
so we could discuss that another time.
But we'll take
No,
that offline. That's not part
yeah,
of this. Let's move on. I want to hear from Vlad.
sounds good. And I also did one, I appreciate your thoughts, and then two, I saw your messages about wallets in the Telegram chat, so I'll respond to you there as well.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
Okay, cool. But anyway, yeah, I'll pass on to Vlad now.
Yeah. Mostly I've been focusing on Zeos. So Zeos is a privacy protocol building on EOS. And we are at the phase where we are deploying it to the mainnet for testing.
Wow.
Yeah. But there is EOS itself, the blockchain, has a limitation of how complex the computation can be of the function. And Zeos hits like above that limit. So in order for Zeos to work, they have to use layer 2 technology built on EOS, which is the liquid apps stuff. And yeah, CPU essentially, vCPU it's called. That's the main
Does
thing.
it have to be a layer 2? Can they use simply the local CPU?
No, that's the thing. If they use local CPU, it hits the limit.
Hmm.
So liquid apps works in a way where you have a specific node, it's called DSP, and it is able to run longer. So it is able to do more complex calculations. So what we're doing right now, we are setting up this DSP node. I've been reaching out to different block producers who used to offer that service. Talked to EOS Nation, to Blockstart, to EOS USA, Michael, and yeah, most of them are out. The only man who is still standing is Michael from EOS USA. So he's right now doing an update to his DSP, the latest one. And once that is done, then we can start testing. Yeah.
What's the price structure? How do you pay for the CPU time?
There are quotas, so you have to stake the DApp token. Liquid Apps has their own token, and if you stake it for the DSP, then you are able to get the services. And there are like quotas that the DSP sets. Yeah.
I see.
And yeah, that's
Who ends up paying for the CPU? Is it well?
Just by the way, no, I think it's probably best to let Vlad finish first and then save the questions for after he's done speaking.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So Zeos one thing with Eden. Yesterday we had brainstorming session. Then, oh yeah, I've been thinking quite a lot about just the decision making, the how to make, like what I'm interested in is just in a design of social organization which makes it the most efficient. So to maximize whatever the mission of the organization is, to maximize the probability of achieving that mission. And I think it could be designed a lot like it's been fairly static for a long time with traditional corporate governance. And I think what we are doing here, we can really create very efficient cooperating mechanisms. So that's where my thoughts go. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Vlad. And I completely agree that we're innovating cooperating mechanisms and we have a huge potential to do so. Yeah, we only have about 10 minutes left. So I would say maybe if we want to save any questions for later and we just get into consensus right now first. I started up a fractogram app. So far, there's 3 people who joined. The only person who hasn't joined yet is Vlad.
Okay,
So
let me just.
Where did you share it?
I just shared it, like gave you an invite. I'll also share it in the Zoom chat here. Yeah, I just typed your name in and invited you. So I don't know if maybe it didn't work because I did it from Dancing Joy. So maybe we're not, we always correspond via my other accounts. So maybe the invite didn't work for you.
Where is the invite?
If you just go into your Telegram app, you're already there. So if you just scroll to your top of your list or one of the top of your list, I started it like 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. So it should be right near the top of it. And also it's in the Telegram or it's in the Zoom chat if you want to just click there as well.
You can search for EF39.
Yep.
Okay, found it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm joining. I'll give it a second. No, it's not our group.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
step back. Sorry, guys.
No problem. I'll do the account prompt because everybody's here. And when you have a chance, just make sure to reply to that message with your account name.
Telegram wants the first letter to be uppercase.
Okay. Well, it looks like you got it to work well.
Yeah.
All right. I'll open up the poll for level 6 here, and everybody should be able to vote now on who you think should be level 6 for this week.
We've got both Dan and DBG Tech. Oh, DBG Tech is.
Dan and Vlad.
Okay.
Where is? I think Dan got, yeah.
So far, Noam hasn't voted yet. There's been 3 or 4 votes, so we're waiting on Noam.
Okay.
I think I did.
I'll have to refresh it then. That might be it has a thing where you have to do it. Okay, so I have consensus here. Thanks, Noam and Vlad, for voting for me. Pascal voted for Vlad too, and I could have easily voted for Vlad, but I've gotten lower rankings in many weeks lately, so I was happy to vote for myself here, but I really appreciate what Vlad and everybody else is doing in the group as well. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks. That's good. Well deserved.
Thank you. And also I'm going to add Space Wrangler Joe into the room because he just joined too. So he's a bit late, so he won't get much chance to speak. But anyway, let's go level 5 here. Okay. And everybody can vote now. Okay, and we have 2 votes for Vlad from me and Pascal, and 2 votes for Pascal from Gnome and Vlad. Would anybody like to share their thoughts? It's kind of a toss-up because I thought what Pascal was doing is really awesome as well. So I'm happy either way. And I could go to Pascal if it would help us reach consensus. But does anybody have anything you'd like to share? Oh, it looks like somebody switched to Pascal.
A switch, break the consensus.
Okay. Sounds good. And now we can go on to level 4. Also, welcome Space Wrangler Joe. Thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. You joined a bit late. We're about to wrap up our breakout room in about 5 minutes or so. But I'm glad that you joined though, and we can give you some respect for joining too. If you'd like to just share like a minute quick update about what you've been up to or how you've been contributing and so forth, then that would be cool and welcome. Or you could just listen along if you prefer.
Well, yeah, I can share just for a moment. Last week we had a meeting for the unconference, and I know me and you talked on there, and we had an opportunity to speak with Michael, the creator, one of the creators of Alien Worlds, and got to bring up Fractally and discuss it. And I think you made more headway than I did, gratefully. But yeah, that was great. And yeah, sorry for being late. Apologize.
All good. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you joining. And yeah, thank you so much for I'm sorry if I interrupted you, Pascal. Were you saying something?
Are we moving to level 3 or we still in?
Oh yeah, I still haven't voted for level 3 yet. I suppose I will. Okay. Well, I voted for Noam. I was also thinking I voted for Noam too because I really appreciate what Noam's doing. I thought that it was awesome. You started the group, and I think it's great that you've been learning too. So I could switch my vote to Noam because Vlad voted for Noam. If you think it's a good idea, I can go either way. Really, Vlad, do you have any thoughts?
I like Noam.
Oh, I'm glad.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, I like Noam too, and I suppose I'll switch my vote to Noam as well. But yeah, or actually, Vlad has to still 3 out of 4. So actually, I'll keep with Vlad. Never mind that. But I like you both. Is this the point here?
Yeah.
And then we could also include Space Wrangler Joe in here as well, I think. So for level 2, Space Wrangler Joe's not in the Telegram group right now, and it's probably not worth joining, but I could just put in Space Wrangler Joe as an option, I think. Okay. And
I'm not sure who got 4 and who got 3.
We're still voting. We are still voting on it.
Yeah, Vlad's level 4, and then 3 will be either you or Space Wrangler Joe.
Okay.
And right now, Noam has 3 out of 4 votes. So it looks like it'll be Noam. I would also certainly give more respect to Joe in future meetings too. I mean, I think what you did was incredible. Like so helpful bringing that up to Michael on the Alien Worlds call. So I really appreciate that. And then also, it was great speaking with you. We spoke for like a half hour or so after the last week's meeting, and I really love what you're doing, and I'm looking forward to probably more with Joe. So if you're able to join a bit earlier in future meetings, then I'd love to give you, I mean, level 2 is good. You get respect there, but I'd love to give you a higher level in the future as well, because I really appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, and I was able to work out getting the access to my keys for my 4th wall digit, what I voted with last week. I know both me and Noam were having some issues getting through that, and so I've got that all squared away.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. We have about 2 minutes left, and we haven't selected a delegate yet. So first off, who would like to be a delegate? Currently, the delegates in this room, Pascal is not a delegate. Vlad will not be a delegate this week. I will not be a delegate next week. So I'd be interested in being a delegate. I'd also be interested in supporting Vlad or Pascal as delegates as well. And if Noam or Joe, you're interested as well, then I'd be interested here as well. But we do have to come to a decision in the next couple minutes or so.
I'm not ready for it yet.
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't know enough.
And I believe I already am a delegate.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, cool. Are you fourth wall digit? Is that your account?
Yes, it is.
Okay, nice. I wasn't sure how that worked. So
Okay.
I keep forgetting that we can elect delegates in the fractalgram app. So I'm going to do the prompt here for the delegates. And I didn't do it for Joe, but I'll assume that's okay. I don't know how to
So,
redo it.
before we vote, Vlad and Pascal, Dan has already expressed interest. Vlad and Pascal, are you interested, committed for the 4 weeks?
Not this week. I will not be available this week.
Okay, so you're not a candidate this week.
No,
Okay.
no.
So it's either Dan or Vlad, and Dan, you can still get elected next week, right?
Yeah. So Vlad, are you interested in being a delegate this week?
I am.
Okay, cool. I'm happy to support Vlad then, and then I can go in for the running next week.
Okay.
Okay, cool. That about concludes it. We will do the consensus results, and everybody can. I think everybody's familiar with this. Joe, if you're not familiar with this, feel free to let us know. I'm just entering in room number 2, and then it'll give us a little thing where using your account, you can click where it says results can be submitted here, click the here button, and then that should open up the web app where you can have everything pre-filled. I'll double check to confirm. There was me at 6, Pascal at 5, Vlad at 4, and Noam at 3. And actually, don't do that yet because we didn't include space where I included Joe's account. So everybody, please, once you click on that, just add space where I include Joe's account.
Can you add him so we can do it with the click?
I'm not sure how to do that. I'm not sure how to do that, but what you can easily do is just, I'll share the account name in the Zoom chat, and if y'all could just manually, when you go into the web app, just copy that fourth wall digit account into the level 2 section before you hit submit. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'll start wrapping up the room now. But great meeting, and really appreciate what everybody's doing. Really great to hear from everybody and see you all.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Dan.
Hey, Perry. Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We just got out of a room where Rosmari was the lead, and she broke every record that I've personally had on a room. She got us through the whole thing with like 10 or 15 extra minutes to discuss things. So big positive for Rosmari. She handled both me and Patrick together in the same room.
Cool.
Not easy. Not easy.
I can imagine. Well, awesome. Thanks. I'm glad to hear it went well. Thanks for sharing that, Perry, and thanks for Rosmari for doing the great work too. We'll also, I think, be hearing a bit more from Rosmari shortly. She made what I believe is the top topic proposal about Notion today. So we'll jump into those topics in a few minutes. I suppose we'll jump into topics in about 5 minutes. I'll just share a couple links, encourage people to vote in the web app if you haven't done so already. Would anybody else like to share any thoughts, or perhaps if Rosmari would like to respond to that, or anybody else like to share any experience with their rooms or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that last week the web app wasn't working for someone who didn't have Anchor wallets, but instead Wombat. And the thing is that Anchor wallet is currently on beta version on Android phones, and most of the developing world, including most of South America and Latin America, and a lot of the people in the Spanish-speaking fractal, have Android phones, so they will probably won't have Anchor. So if Vlad could please provide support for Wombat for the web app, so that at the moment the Spanish-speaking fractal goes into voting using the web app, we can use it. Thank you. I know it's a lot of work, and I don't mean to put more work on you, but we need it. So if you can do it, please.
Yeah, it's actually fairly easy to add wallets if you're using the URL. It's I
Great.
can add.
Awesome. Well, yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Jorge and Vlad. I forgot to mention before, but there was a funny joke in response to Marco's work that we were talking about earlier, where Jorge was, yes, about including Jorge as a savior of EOS in there. So that's another way that Jorge is studying EOS with the Spanish fractal, and looking forward to that. I was also speaking with Vlad about using the Wax Cloud wallet too, which isn't on EOS, but a similar solution on Wax that could potentially be helpful. But great points about that, Jorge, about making that more accessible for people. I've also heard people from the EOS Marketplace team say similar things about that as well. All right, so yeah, I hope everybody had a great time. If there's anything else you want to, if anybody wants to share before we jump in, but I suppose without further ado, if not, then I'll go and share my screen, just to provide once again an overview of the topics on the agenda. There are 4 topics on the agenda today. The one with the most votes is Rosmari's topic, to use Notion as a collaborative tool, and she has some benefits here below, and she can go into more details about that momentarily. And then the other topics that we have, if we have more time, and it will be, I made a proposal for our missions to help people collaborate, create public goods, and empower communities. That has 1 vote. There's not a huge amount of votes on each of these. So once again, I encourage people to both make polls. You can hit the create poll button here if you want to create polls, and then you can vote with your Eden that you earn here if you want to help sort the agenda. And then I also made a proposal for creating the Eden Fractal Participant Agreement as well. Same proposals last week. And then Perry made a topic about discussing our missing mission. So I think that's it, basically. And I suppose now would be a good time to pass it over to Rosmari. Rosmari, are you ready to? It looks like she's getting her headphones. I don't know if she can hear us right now. So hey, Rosmari, are you ready to share your topic with us?
Yes. So I'm just opening consortium. Thanks everyone for voting for me. You can hear me well, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit quiet though. If you could maybe raise the volume a little bit, or maybe speak a little bit louder, that might be helpful.
Okay. How is it like that?
It's good.
Okay. So let me know in case it cuts off or anything like that. So I'm gonna start ahead. So I prepared this Notion doc, which I can just start sharing my screen so you can all see. Sorry, bear with me. Where's the Zoom? Okay.
Take your time. It's okay. It's at the bottom where it says share screen with green.
Okay. All right. So, this is the Notion, actually, for whoever is not familiar with that. Trying to navigate here, sorry. So much technology. So this is the Notion. This is Notion, and we'll go into more details, I think, a bit later on how it works. It's an application or perhaps a program that anyone can download on their laptop or computer. And also there's a version on the app, on the phone. So to download as an app. And my topic proposal that I wanted to discuss is using Notion as a collaborative tool. And the general idea here is to improve collaboration at Eden Fractal. By the way, feel free to interrupt me with any questions you have, or we can discuss perhaps later when I finish. I just wanted to provide a bit of a description and some of the key benefits that I've seen so far using Notion. I'm quite of a new user as well to this tool, but I think it's great for many reasons, which I'll just describe now. So generally, those Wednesday meetings that we have, I think it would be great if we start using Notion meetings pages, which can be easily navigated through here and can be easily shared amongst everyone so that everyone can type in what they think. And it's a great tool to share ideas instead of the Telegram chat, which we've been using so far. I think great adoption because they just introduced the topics and we're making like great use out of them. But I think that this may be better just because of its as well searching capabilities and just easier to navigate around different topics and keep track of what everyone is saying. So some of the key benefits here that all notes get saved and can be easily editable. Also, Dan, as he's currently curates the show notes that he shares after each meeting, he could easily use that page to copy paste sections when he's in the process of curating those. Also, these meetings, this page can be linked up as part of the show notes itself. And that's not like to say that for sure that this will happen, but if everyone thinks that this would be of help to someone externally or internally to keep track of that, that could as well be mentioned in the show notes itself. Also, more people can collaborate simultaneously. So let's say instead of meeting up another time where, you know, it is a bit hard to manage everyone's agenda, and that place is somewhere that it's available like 24/7, and anyone can come in and leave out their thoughts even prior to meetings, and we can lead a bit of a discussion, you know, even prior to meetings, and then we can just discuss and make that flow easier. So it can be better organized, and it would be a good place to track ideas, similarly to a journal. And we can use Notion as a space to collaborate on key topics. For example, like mission or agreements and etc. Those key topics that we may struggle with timing to discuss those within that like hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours that we gather up on Wednesday. So that is a way to kind of stretch out the time, and you know, everyone's thinking is different, so not everyone would have the same like spark in that idea so that they can share like straight away in the meeting. So for example, I process information like a bit later, you know. So that is a place that is open and it's there, and everyone can just type out whenever they feel ready on a specific subject, and it will just help things move faster. And of course, like the community can decide how best to use this tool and how to structure it so that it comprehends all its needs. So there's not like a right or wrong way to use that tool. It's like for us to really decide how best to do that. And yeah, and then lastly, it has many cool features. For example, creating tables, timelines, and loads more. But yeah, one key feature that I think would really benefit our community is we can add comments on someone's comment or like a thought that they shared. So anyone could literally comment on a specific section of information that someone has put out, and they can start a separate discussion, which doesn't really interfere with the whole page itself and the layout. So it's like a separate thing that anyone can really watch as well. It's not like hidden. So I think it's a great place for discussion in real time. And also you can get notifications if someone has commented or has participated in some sort of discussion that's happening, that's like involving you as a commenter. So I think that's like a way to outdo what Telegram's topics are currently doing. And yeah, in general, also there's a few other features, like for example, providing links, which go back to a section in a different meetings page. So you can easily, provide that link and anyone can click on it and see what this person is actually talking about. If it has been mentioned in previous meetings that there has been like documents about. So it provides this really easy navigation as well. And that's why I think it's appropriate for a collaborative community, which I believe we all do want to become. And it's a great use case scenario for that reason.
Thank you so much, Rosmari. Is there anything else you want to add here?
No?
Okay, cool. We've also got some questions. I don't know if you want to stop sharing your screen now, or if there's anything else you want to show. There were some comments. First of all, I'll also say, in case anybody's not familiar with Notion, I'll share the link to the main website where you can see a general overview of the tool. It's at notion.so. I'll share that in the Telegram chat and the live chat. And once again, I meant to remind everybody, but I encourage everybody to use the Telegram live chat instead of the Zoom chat for all the reasons that we discussed over the previous weeks. In general, it provides a lot of benefits over the Zoom chat. But yeah, thanks so much, Rosmari, for the great presentation. I'll just quickly say that I love this tool and love this idea, so really appreciate it. And I see there's many comments and questions. One I saw Pascal wrote in the chat, Notion is a very good tool for work collaboration. And we have hands up from Marco and Eric, although I think first Jorge asked a question. He asked it in the chat. I don't know if you want to say that out loud, Jorge, but you asked, does Notion need to be downloaded or can it be used as a web app? It can be used as both.
Yes.
And I suppose, unless anybody else wants to add on that, Rosmari or Jorge, I just figured I'd answer quickly because I knew the answer as well. But yeah. With that being said, then I'll pass it on to Marco.
It's a good idea. I've used it before. And, a couple of things, Rang. Live discussion or real-time discussion, you said, definitely. Tool for that. And place to make links and documents official. The whole thing doesn't have to be official, but we can have a section that essentially delegates voted into, and once it's there, we'd have to remove it. If there's any dispute to a document or links or whatever, we can put it in there. And easy to put how-tos or questions or comments on there. So yeah, that's one.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback, Marco. Of course, Rosmari, if you want to respond to any of these comments, then feel free at any point. Also, Rosmari, too, I know you had a link there. Was there anything you wanted to share? If you wanted to share that link so people could review that later, it's up to you if you want to do, but I just figured I'd remind you because I thought you mentioned that before.
Yes, I'll share the link to this page that I just reviewed right now, in both in the Telegram chat and in the Zoom chat.
Cool. Thank you very much. Eric?
Another advantage, of course, is use as a content management system to a website so that you can use Super, and when you change a Notion document, the website changes, so you can have lots of people making changes to a website. But I guess my big question is, you talked about the good features and benefits as a collaboration tool. Do you see this collaboration tool being used specifically in any workflow or process for Eden? Is there anywhere specifically you would start that this would be a good place to use it?
Yes, I mentioned, for example, the mission or the agreement or any of those key topics that we've been discussing lately, any of the proposals that want to go forward, for example, and that people want to collaborate and make their voices heard. So I think that would be a good start.
I guess I was meaning, like, do you see this as part of the process for agendas or for topics? Do you see this setting this up, not just, oh, you could use it if you have this, but do you see this using it as a part of a standard, this is how we do it, like before we meet, like if you do a
Yes.
proposal, you should also create a Notion folder, or do you see that getting it at any state? I'm trying, I think
Yeah.
in terms of goals and processes, things that are duplicatable.
Yes, totally. And this is like great brainstorming. Maybe we can do like, it depends if this proposal gets accepted, but we can make a session on brainstorming how best to use that tool. But as you said just now, and even in the as part of the agendas games that we just went into, there were so many good ideas shared, and I wish I could copy and paste the chats that we had, because there were lots of pictures shared there and links, and basically what everyone has been working on, and that's really not saved anywhere because it was in the chat. And I wish maybe we can start using a agenda room chats as pages in Notion, for example, room 1, room 2, room 3, etc. And then basically paste have a conversation there, really, and so that it's saved. And also, because let's say if you're in one room, you don't have visibility, you don't know what everyone talked about in the other rooms. That way we can have much more transparent view about what everyone's been doing for the past weeks, every week, because not everyone reaches out individually to the other person in the group. So that's like a good way as well to keep track of ideas and not send the same link 3 times or 4 times. For sure, that's I think there's a big potential in using Notion to keep track of progress. Yes. Does that answer your question, Eric?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for the question.
Sounds great. I see Perry has his hands up. Perry, would you like to share some thoughts?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dan. I've got a question for the group. How many different places? Let's see if we can list all the different places that we interact and post content for our group. And I'm creating a post right here in the live chat room in our group. And so far I've got Telegram in general. We've got all these. We've got our topics under the Eden Fractal group itself. We've got Fractalgram, which is an app that operates on Telegram. We've got the React app, which is the Eden Fractal frontend.com, I believe it is. And then we've got EdenCreators.com. And then we've got mindmap.com. I would say that's
Don't forget the Mighty Network.
And okay, thank you. Let's talk about the Mighty Network. I don't know what that is, but what is that?
That's the site where Joshua set up originally, where all the different fractal kind of communities were. And right now it's mostly just Eden Fractal. That's where we have a Zoom link. We don't really use it too often, but there's a forum there, as well as the Zoom link is what we mostly use it for, the RCP page.
And that's specific to Eden Fractal?
It's not specific to Eden Fractal. The Genesis Fractal used to use it too, and the Alien Worlds Fractal used to use it and stuff like that as well. But it's not widely used by any communities right now. And
Yeah,
the
the
art
art
fractal too.
fractals.
I'm speaking for like our core functions, like our voting, and obviously we post it to YouTube and things like that. But the core functions to keep this group moving and functioning, we have quite a few different applications. Now I'd be interested in the full list, so I'm going to post my list, and if other people can contribute and add to it, and we can actually make it a complete list of all the different pieces to this puzzle. I can say that I think it's fair to say that newcomers are going to have trouble keeping track of what we're doing. That's, I think, an easy thing to say. And then I'll follow it up by saying my initial response to what you proposed, Marie, is I completely understand using a tool that is collaborative. I get that. But we have to balance that against what I've just suggested, is that we have lots of different stuff going on. And I do appreciate the instinct of Tadas and Vlad and others within the community to develop onto Telegram, for at least the reason that Telegram is truly decentralized, or as close to as we could get, or one of them. And it's allowing for development directly on that platform. So my instincts tell me as a developer that we should continue to try to make Telegram work and simplify the experience for ourselves who are veterans, and also for newcomers, by trying to push as much on Telegram as possible. I think what you're doing, Rosmari, and I'm open to discussion. This is just my initial thoughts. But what I think what you're doing is an excellent opportunity for you to use that, and others who choose to develop ideas and communicate ideas. But for the core activity of what we're doing, I think we all benefit by keeping it, by gravitating towards something that is simple. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Well, first off, if Rosmari would like to respond to that, I know Marco just raised his hand too, so it seems like he's itching to say something too, and Eric did as well. We had some thumbs up, by the way, Noam and Marco shared some thumbs up throughout in various times for anybody watching on YouTube. I suppose first off, Rosmari, is there anything else you want to respond to that, or should we pass it on to Marco or Eric first?
I would pass on, and I can respond to everyone after in the same, like in the. I'll try to respond to everyone in the same, like in the same sentence or with the same response.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
That way I can address everyone's points.
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks. Also, I'll say before passing on to one, there's a couple comments in the chats. So there's one correction. The Mind website is at mindweb.io, not mindweb.com, to be clear. And then Vlad said Notion is the place to store that list. I think that Perry was talking about is Google and Talks on Steroids. And I have a lot of thoughts about this too. I'm kind of holding my tongue because I want to hear what other people think, but I'll share my response in a little bit. I'll pass it on to Marco first.
All right, well, the only concern I've heard was from Perry, and I believe I just satisfied that in completion with the Telegram Notion.com bot integration, or whatever that is. So there's probably, I don't know how that works, but Telegram is not going to contain everything that Notion does. So we should explore that bot for that. It just makes sense that it exists. Can't imagine that it doesn't. So on that, unless anyone else has other objections, because I believe Perry was finished with his thoughts, I want to vote on this because organization is the key. I said by many, I don't always agree with that, but in this case, absolutely, yeah. It's a place to store, and the only thing that I think of concern of harm might be the official thing that I mentioned, having a section for official links in there, but it'll be decided by the delegates anyway. Other than that, it's just a great place to save us time. Anytime anybody's slowing anybody else down, that's them taking part of their life. So anytime we can speed things up, organize stuff that's not mandatory, great. Awesome idea. I want to vote on it today.
Thanks for the thoughts, Marco, and thanks for sharing telegramnotion.com. I hadn't seen that. If you want to share in the live chat too, so people can check that later in Telegram too, that'd probably be helpful. I'm looking forward to exploring that. Although
I can't speak to that, by the way.
What's that?
I can't speak to that. I just found that I quick search.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I know it has an API, and it has, from what I've tested, pretty good integrations with like Discord and Slack too. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about integrations with Telegram. And also, I'll just make it clear, I'm pretty sure that Rosmari's was just a topic proposal. It's not an actual proposal that she was intending people to vote on this week. Feel free to clarify if I'm incorrect, but as far as I understand it, just a topic to discuss, and then perhaps we could approve a proposal at a later time if delegates want to do that. With that, I see Eric has hands up again. Eric, thoughts?
Yeah, so no problem with Notion, no problem with Telegram. But I think it's important to keep in mind is this is part of something bigger, which is a platform. And in a platform, you don't want to say, oh, the answer to the universe is Telegram, because that could change next week, which doesn't mean we don't use it. Maybe it works longer, but we should at least be thinking and, eventually go into platform design, which is how do we get this idea of ranking and voting and leaderboards and topics and proposals and content and all the things we do really fits into a platform, even if it's not one piece of software, thinking about things as workflows and what we're trying to do. At some point, we're really going to need a committee to figure out how do we design this thing together. That's kind of what we started at with Go Fractally, is they kind of immediately stepped up and said, we'll figure out how to put all these stuff together. And then that still may happen sometime, but until then, there's always going to be a constant look to say what functions do we have and what tool fills that function. And Telegram and Notion are great additions to that, but just realize in the future that may swap out. Like right now we're using Zoom. In the future, it might not be Zoom. So we really just need to come up with what are the functions and how they fit together. And I think Vlad and Tadas have done a good job because, it's really API based. So by the way, for those that don't, I worked for $1 billion software company that was one of the largest platforms on the planet. That's all we did was put new pieces and grow it all the time, but we did it in a place where it was always relevant and it was always functional, and we get new things and put it in there. But you don't want to think in terms of spaghetti coding lots of different things and hope it works. That's kind of how you start. But a platform mindset is probably what I think we should start with, even if we just go do things now. I think we shouldn't forget that.
Very interesting points. Platform mindset. Thank you, Eric. Got a thumbs up from Tadas too. Noam?
I wanted to say that I appreciate what Perry said very much. I actually feel the same way he does, but I don't see a conflict between that and what Rosmari is proposing, because what Rosmari is proposing is the process of collaboration, whereas the final product of what she publishes, the thing that should be going up to a vote, shouldn't be in any collaborative tool because we don't want it changed after the vote. So that should be saved for eternity on some place like IPFS maybe, or on a blockchain or something like that. And as long as that's in the procedures, then it doesn't matter if we collaborate in Notion or in Google Docs or in something else or Telegram. I fully support the idea of using Notion as long as it's clear that when it comes to a vote, it goes out of Notion and we vote on the final document. And that's what I have to say.
Great points. Thank you, Noam. We got a clap from Patrick, and I think Tadas gave a thumbs up before, making it clear the differences and what the roles are and so forth in my summary. But yeah, great points. Thanks to Noam, and Tadas has hands up now.
Yeah, I totally agree with Noam. In addition to voting, I think we also, whenever we can use platforms like Notion to develop documents, develop ideas, but once it gets to the point where we pass something, where we establish something as something that, like the document that of Feed and Fractal, we should publish it on some more decentralized platform, maybe. Yeah, and one question I have about Notion is there. I know platforms like this often have a pricing model where to use it alone it's free, but if you want to collaborate with a larger number of people, it often has a cost. Does anyone know about this?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I don't know if Rosmari or anybody else would like to answer, but if not, then I suppose that I could just share because I've been doing a lot of research and collaborating with Rosmari as well as Vlad with this tool as well, and looking into the best ways to collaborate. And yeah, you're right. There is a pricing model. It's free to start, and so far, for all the purposes that I've used it pretty extensively with several people. Haven't run into any need to pay for it. But there is a payment plan where it winds up being something like $10 per member per month if you go to a certain amount of usage. And I've been exploring setting up that kind of plan and inviting people to the community at some point when it's necessary.
Okay, thanks. And just to just another remark about my perspective of these kind of tools is that in my ideal vision, it's not the ideal tool for collaboration. The ideal tool would be more decentralized, but of course, I think we don't currently have alternatives like this. So in the meantime, Notion is one of the options to consider. Yeah, I guess that's all for now.
Thanks, Adas. And yeah, just to add on to that, Notion, as far as I know, is closed source. There's a corporation that's based in California. It's quite a large corporation. It's quite well funded, but it's not a Web3 tool right now. There are some tools that are somewhat similar that are open source, like Obsidian. I think Lenny and I and you have spoken about Obsidian, so there are other options, but they don't have a lot of the features of Notion. So that is a consideration. Thanks for bringing it up. Patrick?
Yeah, and especially I think Obsidian lacks in collaboration tools, features. Okay, sorry for interrupting. I'm done now.
It's all good. Great point. Thanks, Adas. Before Patrick goes, I'll also say, by the way, we are about a half hour into, so if we want to get into the other topics, then I suppose delegates, if you want to just write in the Telegram chat, if you want to move on. Personally, I think that, Noel and Patrick have some thoughts and I have some thoughts too, so I'm happy to continue this and save other topics for later. But if anybody wants to move on a topic, then please let us know, and I suppose I'll remind us again in the next 10, 15 minutes or so. Patrick?
Yeah, very short, very supporting the Notion website. I think that's a good place to start, to put some documents there. And also using myself, I am using the Zapier integration that is with Notion. Every time you have a new line, a new row into a table on Notion, because on Notion you can create tables like spreadsheet. And every time a row is added in a spreadsheet or deleted from a spreadsheet, you have a Zapier module. You receive the information that the row is added or deleted. I am using myself with the bees. They have a Notion website. I receive when there is a new information, and I listen to this when there is a row deleted or added, and I put that into the mind map. So, like stated Tadas, that's great to have some decentralization, and we can use Notion as a tool, but we are not making a wedding with Notion. We are just using this tool to have some information there, and then we can extract, transform, and load those data that are there into other modules. Like this, we are doing collaboration Web3, totally, let's say, connected, not meshed, connected. And thanks to the API, Notion has great APIs. And the Zapier integration is one of them. That's very great. So very supportive of Notion, generally speaking. Just want to be short on that.
Thanks. Great points, Patrick. Yeah, it was great hearing on the town hall, speaking about your API integrations with Notion and the USBs over the town hall too. So really cool stuff with possibilities with the API. No?
I'm wondering, Notion is a tool for collaboration. And several people have mentioned the question of storage. I'm wondering if we have some version of Git for version control. Now, this isn't something you want to do every time somebody edits or adds a line to a spreadsheet. But I know that there was Git that by Linus Torvalds. Then there's GitHub, which is Microsoft. Now there are new open source tools that develop something on a personal Git because they don't trust Microsoft, but they do mirror it on GitHub because it's so ubiquitous. And I'm wondering where we want to go on this whole, it's more of a question with some details than an answer, but I think this is something we need to consider. And that's what I have to say.
Good points. Thanks, Noel. I can share a bit in response to that as well, but I think Tadas raised his hand after you brought that up. So I don't know if Tadas wanted to respond to that, or would you have a second point, Tadas?
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear somebody bring up Git in this discussion, because I really thought a lot about it, and I think for the Git model is very useful. Can be very powerful for a community like this. It's version control basically on all the files, and basically Firmament is what I'm currently working on, and it incorporates a lot of ideas from Git. It's basically it uses a Git-like, very Git-like models to basically to distribute the, not to distribute, but to do version control on the consensus of a DAO. Yeah, so if anyone is interested, I can share later about how Firmament uses Git model.
Yeah,
and it integrates with IPFS very well.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear, Tadas, if you want to either share that in the chat or discuss that at some point. However, really, I've been following your work with Firmament on your daily updates, and that sounds really cool. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that. And yeah, just to add, Notion has some version control features, but it's very basic, or at least compared to Git. And GitHub has a lot of advantages in composability, although Notion does have like HTML files and stuff like that too that are fairly compatible.
Just one addition. Sorry for taking some time. The way I see it, version control, like the one I'm creating, it's useful for committing consensus, but to develop consensus, which requires a lot of discussion and voting, tools like Notion or Telegram might be better. So that's the way I see it. Reach consensus on tools like this, and then signal commit on tools like Firmament, like I'm creating.
Yep, that makes sense and sounds great. I no worries about jumping into DOS. I really appreciate hearing your thoughts, and I think that everybody else in the community does as well. So thank you. And Vlad wrote it in the chat. That'd be a great topic for next week after DOS too. Yeah, so I think that this, well, I'll just share a little bit of my thoughts here before Perry goes. I think that this is like one of the biggest and probably the biggest opportunity for improvement for our community, for Eden and Eden Fractal, to use better tools like Notion, like Git, like Telegram, use them more effectively. One of the things that, well, one of the perspectives is like we're a community that kind of works together and comes together for one meeting a week for 2 or 3 hours. And then throughout the week, we all kind of do our own thing. Sometimes we meet privately, or sometimes we have a couple other meetings like the brainstorming sessions and so forth. But by using these tools, we can collaborate far more effectively and far more efficiently throughout the week. So I would love to hear that topic in the future, Tadas, if you want to propose that and discuss more of that. And I know Patrick was saying something. If you want to add something quick there, then that would be cool. If not, I see Perry and Eric have their hands up now too. Perry?
You're very quick.
Yes.
Very quick.
Just hold on 1 second, because I gave Perry, I gave Patrick the option to share. So if you wanted to share something very quick, Patrick.
So we're not using our hands anymore? Okay.
Generally we are, but it's the moderator's decision. And I just saw that Patrick was saying yeah. So I just figured if you wanted to add an extra sentence, then I figured I'd give him the opportunity to do so.
Oh yeah, just very quick. Just very quick. Exactly what is building Tadas with Albedo, Firmament, now into the mood, into the loop for Eden Fractal, all this. That will help us to go more rapid into our main room, into our breakout room at some point. And also the hidden fractal brainstorming session that I have made a pause now that you have explained at the beginning of today. I was not there, but you have explained it. I want to create also a Telegram bot with the brainstorming session like this. We don't spend too much time to just speak. We have a track record. So very welcome the initiative of Tadas with Albedo, and I enjoy to, and Firmament, enjoy to cover that a little bit into Hidden Fractal update number 5. And on the next week, okay, just
Sounds great. Thank you, Patrick. Looking forward to that. And Perry, sorry that was a little awkward. I think I probably should have just passed on to you, but I was inspired to hear what Patrick said, so I just wanted to hear him first. But anyway, Patrick or Perry, it's on to you, and thank you for your patience.
I just want to share with people who haven't used a Git style repository. In other words, people who don't have experience with development. It's a reasonably sophisticated tool, and I think it's adding a kind of an unnecessary burden, especially for people who aren't familiar with writing software in a collaborative environment. So although I appreciate that the benefits of that, I think the costs would come at our membership and our collaboration. Not everybody would easily be able to use it, and the people that did know how to operate it will have like another level of control. And I want to encourage us to, when we're thinking about these things, when we're talking about these things, to think of outside of our own group. Like, what would another group or another person interested in starting another group, what would they think about the tools that we're using? And so I think it's to our benefit if we're creating something that other people can use and other people can share. We can share with other people, and it can grow virally and really have an impact on the world, that we think about these things. And so I don't think that that using that is a step in the right direction. I think we should, as much as possible, we should try to gravitate towards simplicity as much as possible. Another item is just to talk about the benefits. I want to say something on the positive for Notion, although I haven't used it. I'm going to assume, because it's getting a lot of positive reviews here by everybody, that it has an ability to track changes in it, like Google Docs. So that's one of the reasons I like Google Docs, is that it gives all the participants the ability, depending on who the owner is, to set to create that setting. Everybody can track every change, even a comma, a space, whatever, and they're all archived, and they can all be examined. Each different change can be examined and downloaded, and so that's a huge plus for Google Docs, something like that. And it's very easy. Anybody can use that. You just simply go into the version history. And I think that's important to as much as possible, keep this in the hands of the average person who isn't necessarily a developer. And even though I have the capacity to comprehend that stuff, if I dive in, I think it's not to our advantage as creators of these systems. So I want to encourage that we not go the GitHub route or the GitLab or the Git. It's just going to give undue influence and power to a subset of us rather than the whole. So thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Good points. I really agree with and appreciate the focus on simplicity. And certainly Notion and Google Docs and Telegram are simpler in many ways. Although one thing I'll add before passing to Eric, I'm not a technical developer, like doing code much, but I've learned a good deal about GitHub through an excellent series that came up. I'll share it in the Telegram live chat right now. It's called GitHub and GitHub for Poets. It's by a pretty funny host. It's called like the Rainbow Code or something like that. He's got some great videos with a lot of views where he explains GitHub in very basic terms for people who aren't very familiar with it, and uses it like from the perspective of somebody writing a poem and collaborating on a poem. So I think it is possible to train people to use GitHub even if they're not very technical as well. But certainly there are more challenges with it. With that, I think I'll pass it on to Eric. And of course, once again, Rosmari, if you want to jump in at any point, feel free.
Yeah, for those that probably don't know, is I'm actually a qualified government program manager, and I was a program manager and chief engineer for developing technical systems, hardware, software systems for the government. I went to go work for $1 billion software company, and then I helped form a Internet of Things, which was basically a software company. So one of the things that's important is to, one, continue to work at the tool level, but also jump ahead and do a function level. So I would think about using Notion. A test for that would be develop a functional platform using Notion to just say, here's the functions that need to be happen, and here's how they would be connected together. And that's something that could be doing collaboratively on any tool, but why not try Notion to do that since we're talking about it? That would be a good test of Notion and get us forward to identifying the functions, and then identifying the tools that are out there to perform the functions and the connections at the API or Zapier level to do those functions. Just a thought.
Great thoughts, Eric. Thank you very much. I suppose I see Perry still has his hands up. I don't know if there's anything you want to add. I've also been saving up some thoughts too, so I could respond as well here. Something you want to add there, Perry?
I do. Yeah, thank you. I want to add that another phenomena that I'm observing, and we're all learning. This is all just a giant experiment, so we're all learning. Is that we're creating what I'll call host creep. So when in software development, you have something in anything development of any product, you've got something that might be called product creep or requirements creep. What are we going to do changes over time, can change over time, and that's generally looked at as a negative, right? It's a reality of building something, but as you want to reduce the amount of changes over time. In the case of hosts, where every time we create a new tool, we're creating a new host. So we've got a host for this, a host for that, a host for the other thing. This is another reason why I've been pushing, not just in this group, but in other groups, but specifically for this group, that we adopt the task as part of our media mission to figure out how we can store, how we can maintain custody of all of these platforms, and who is the host, so to speak, who's the owner of those accounts, and so that we don't have this host creep where we've got we've got a bunch of platforms and a bunch of hosts, and it becomes difficult to keep track of, and it really creates more attack vectors, right? There's more ability for other people to come in and control the group from the outside, or just manipulate the group. So I think we should begin thinking of, these are super important things, and it seemed to be completely ignored, as if they don't exist, as if it's just okay that there's certain individuals that control certain platforms. To me, it goes to the whole core of what we're doing. This is super important to me, and I'm hoping that this group can see that's valuable, not just to this group, but to the entire decentralized community. It's at the essence of it. It's at the essence. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. I agree. That's really important. I really appreciate your insights. I'll share my thoughts here about one in response to Perry, and then also in response to just the general discussion so far, a couple of notes I've written down as we've been discussing these. I see Patrick has hands up, so I'll pass that on to Patrick afterwards. And we are 10 minutes away from the hour, but it seems like everybody's pretty interested in this discussion about Notion. So the other topics about the mission and the agreement, I think it's best to save those for next week, unless anybody wants to try to vote quickly, but I'll just keep on going here because I haven't heard from any delegates about wanting to move on from the topic. And I agree, this is a topic that deserves a lot of discussion. So yeah, with what you're saying, Perry, I think I hadn't heard the term host creep, but that makes sense. I think that's a good way to put it. And I think it's really important to keep it simple. And then also thinking about the dependencies that we have, both in terms of corporations that we might be depending on, and then individuals within the community who might be in control of the different platforms. So yeah, so Tadas brought up a great point before about like the open source of it. And we talked a little bit about how Notion isn't really a Web3 tool right now. I've also mentioned, and I've been kind of quiet, but I really love the Notion tool as far as just how powerful it is. I've been using it for the past like 2 or 3 years. I've watched many like dozens or hundreds of videos and experimented with it and so forth. And there's people who are way more into it than me who have been using it way more often, and like have millions of followers and teach it in courses and stuff like that. It's been a pleasure so far collaborating with Glad and Rosmari. We've been collaborating with it in different ways over the past few months or so, past few weeks. So just to add a couple quick points of color to what Perry was saying. So as far as being dependent on Notion, Notion does have, I think, pretty good export backup features with HTML, Markdown, and CSV, which are pretty composable files that you can use elsewhere. I would like to test that more. I'm not exactly sure, but that does reduce some of the dependency. And being that I like this tool so much, one of my big priorities is to reduce dependencies in this. Both, one, figure out some sort of way to have an open source alternative, or figure out some way that maybe Notion will be open source at some point, so we're not so dependent on that, and also have it with Web3 configuration, so people can use multi-sigs on EOS and stuff like that, so it's not one person in control of it. But also Notion does have pretty good duplication features as well, so it's quite easy. If one person creates it, then other people can duplicate it. So I don't think there's so much risk of host creep as far as individuals in the community having control of it, as long as we set it up well. And as far as the corporation, they seem like great people who run it, but yeah, we certainly want to reduce dependency there. Perry also mentioned before about like difference in tools and having a lot of tools. Also good to keep it simple. One thing you mentioned was Telegram. I also think that we could use Telegram way more too, and I'm excited about that, using topics, and I think it's a really helpful tool. But I do see a big need for Notion or a tool like Notion. Telegram is real-time and synchronous and things. It's great for chats and so forth, but things can get lost, whereas Notion has a lot more opportunity for asynchronous organization. Eric had also mentioned, and Rosmari had mentioned, Super and how I do the show notes. So I use a service. It's also used by a couple other people in the community, like Joshua. It's called super.so, and it allows you to turn any website into, or any Notion page into a website. That's how I host my websites. It works really well. It also has the dependencies, but overall it makes it really easy to publish websites very quickly in a collaborative manner. So that's another benefit of it. And there are like many huge companies, like with thousands of people who are using Notion very effectively. It's got a very deep value proposition. So yeah, I'm also planning to share some educational resources. I've been working on curating some links about some of the most helpful tools and perspectives that I can find about it, and tutorials. So I'll share more of that. I really appreciate Rosmari bringing this up. It was awesome to hear that she was thinking about proposing this last week. So I've been stoked that how she has been taking the initiative with it. So thanks so much, Rosmari, and thanks everybody so much for the conversation so far. I really appreciate hearing everybody's insights, and looking forward to exploring this and other kind of tools for collaboration, tools for thought together. Thank you, Patrick, for the little applause symbol. And yeah, that's my little speech about Notion. So thanks everybody for listening. And with that, I see Perry has his hands up. I know Patrick has hands up too, but he lowered it. So I suppose if you want to speak and add anything to that, Patrick, can raise your hand again. But for now, I'll pass on to Perry.
I just wanted to say I'm glad that we're not. I appreciate Marco's desire to act. I mean, that's great. I mean, we all want to move things forward, but I also appreciate that we're not going to vote on something that we haven't really explored. I created DNews before I asked anybody to do anything, to give me money, to do anything. I put it out there because I was able to do it. It's a significant amount of work. I think that if we're going to vote on something that we're all going to use, we should really see how it's going to be used. We should, yeah. And I know that didn't come from you, Rosmari. I know that you're just suggesting a topic, and then that's great. That's awesome. But I think I would want to encourage us culturally to get in the habit of exploring something before we totally commit to it, and testing it and understanding how it will work before we actually start using something. The whole habit of just committing to voting to do something that we really don't know how it works and how it's going to impact us, I think is not our best approach. Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that, Perry, is I think that Notion can help with that a lot. I find that one of the issues that we currently face is that the Telegram chats, they're not super active throughout the week. I mean, it's great to see there's been lots of comments throughout the week that people have been sharing. But a lot of times, and this is partly my fault too, but like when I make proposals or when somebody else makes proposals, sometimes we just make it the day before the event, the meeting, and then people are learning at the meeting as we go. So it can be a little hectic and chaotic. And so I think that Notion, in addition to Telegram, in addition to GitHub and tools like this, can help us think about these things throughout the week before we're voting on it. And then also, I agree with what you're saying, that it's a great thing that that we can just propose topics like Rosmari did as well, to discuss them first in these meetings, in addition to having the asynchronous communication in these tools. Jorge? Jorge, you're muted right now. You're not muted in Zoom, but can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, on the positive side, I'll share my screen so that this group can feel the pride I feel today. Here is the initial contract by James Smart for this fractal, the Eden fractal contract, which the Spanish-speaking fractal just forked. So a lot of the innovation that has been taking place here is being exported to benefit all these communities in the developing world, in particular in Colombia and Mexico. And the reason I am bringing this is because first, it is a big accomplishment personally for myself. And second, to enjoin you guys to go into that wild route of innovation and unknown and the unknown, and to explore all these new paths, and really to trust human beings. Don't fall in the trap that because something is difficult or challenging, people won't be able to cope with it. It's much more harder to cope with the current financial system and fiat-based monetary trap than to learn GitHub or Notion or whatever it is. So I want to tell this group that I'm feeling really proud about you all for all the things you are doing and you have done, and let's keep up the good fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jorge. We got lots of hearts. We had thumbs up from Rosmari and heart from me, Perry, and Patrick. Great to hear your updates with Spanish Fractal, and thanks for sharing that, and glad to hear that our innovations are helping with the Spanish Fractal. Always love to hear updates, and also all the inspiring words too. Got a heart from Space Wrangler Joe too. Jorge the Savior has been sharing lots of inspiring words lately.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth, Dan.
He's inspiring us to look for the good. I love it. If anybody has any comments about that, then feel free to jump in. Of course, I also add to Vlad said he had to go, but he said, by the way, I don't think usage of Notion needs to be decided via proposal. Simply who likes it, use it. I agree. I don't know how actually a proposal would be constructed, but that's something to keep in mind too. it's kind of like people can use it if they want to, and perhaps there could be a proposal, but I don't know. If we did want to have a proposal, then we'd have to figure out some way to word that, but it might just be best to just kind of like Telegram. We just use it if we want to. I just made a topic about the live chat and asked if people were interested, and people seemed to like it. So that's why I created the topics. But yeah, anyway, thanks. Thanks again, Jorge. Thanks everybody. And I see Rosmari has her hand up now. Curious to hear her thoughts.
Thank you everyone for contributing. Lots of great discussion. I think we made a huge progress on this topic anyway, which I'm glad to hear. And that was really the aim, to do that. So I'm really happy about this meeting. And I'm sure we'll discuss more, but I gotta go soon as well. So thanks everyone. I mean, it's been a great discussion to listen to. I made loads of notes as well, and I'm sure we can try out things before committing to using them. And it doesn't have to be Notion; it can be any tool really, which would speed up process of deciding on things, which doesn't take away from the current tools that we are using. If they're working, we'll continue to use them. And yeah, I hope anyone new that comes on would be interested to find out about them. That's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much once again, Rosmari, for both proposing this topic and taking the initiative here. I really love how you've been contributing so much to the group after joining a month or so ago, and now you're here as a delegate and making topic proposals that are so that I think so many people in the community are finding valuable. So thank you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing more about Notion and all these tools. And just one other thing too, I think you mentioned it and Perry mentioned it too. I think with all these tools, part of it would be education too. Like it's fairly simple to use Notion, and it can be fairly simple to use some of those tools, but as a community, we can certainly work to help educate each other about the best tools and how to use them and so forth. And that can be an ongoing process. Cool. Well, yeah, no, Rosmari said that she had to go pretty soon. We have been going for about 2.5 hours now, and the hour for agendas is now formally concluded. So I suppose we can keep an open discussion going. If anybody has any more thoughts you want to share about Notion, then feel free. I'd be happy to hear it. If anybody wants to share anything, I see Perry's got a finger up too, so I'll pass it on to Perry in a moment. I was going to say, well, actually, first I'll pass on to Perry now. It seems like Perry's excited. So, Perry, what do you think?
Well, I just wanted to give my takeaways from the great discussion that Rosmari introduced today. My takeaway is that this Telegram Notion app, where we can integrate Notion and Telegram, it seems to be very interesting, because I completely accept that Notion, even though I've never used it, I accept the notion, no pun intended, from everybody here that it's a good product. But I also like, as I've expressed, how keeping things in a decentralized repository like Telegram is super high priority. So if somehow those two ideas can be integrated, I think that's the pursuit. So if Rosmari, if that's the direction you go, I think that would be a very good direction, is somehow to figure out how those two can work together. I think you've got something positive. So that's my takeaway for today.
Okay, I think it's a great idea. I'll think about that.
Was it Mockingbird that knew about this app? If you could post a link to that or some reference, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, he shared it up in the Zoom chat. It's at telegramnotion.com, but he also cautioned that he just Googled it quickly, and he doesn't know, he hasn't verified. So I would just recommend everybody be careful about it to make sure that there might be more official API integration or something like that as well. And just one thing I add too, you mentioned decentralized repository like Telegram. As far as I'm aware, Telegram faces a similar kind of Web 2 issues as Notion. It's owned by Telegram Corporation. So I don't think it's really it's really much more decentralized than Notion, and I think that we probably want to decentralize both tools like Telegram and Notion, as far as I understand, at least.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think both of these need to be improved. We're using a lot of web tools like Zoom too as well. I see Lenny has hands up. So first, while Perry's thinking that over, deep in thought, I'll pass it on to Lenny.
Just a short tip, because I heard several times tonight different comments that the chat disappears from the Zoom, but there is a saving chat. It saves in a folder on your, if you're on a laptop at least. So down in the bottom of the chat one, you got 3 small dots next to the smiley face, and there you can actually save chat and just do it up to the end every now and then. Then you get everything saved. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Lenny. Good point. Everybody's welcome to save the chat. Everybody can do that, as Lenny said. I also still encourage people to use the Telegram chat because it's easier. It just automatically saves in Telegram and easier for everybody to find rather than a local file. But that's definitely
I wanted to hint, since I see that there's not too many on there, but they are still shouting here.
Right. Yeah. I guess habits persist, but there are some benefits to the Zoom chat too. If people want to have it within their breakout rooms or want it to be maybe a little bit more private, then I guess Zoom chat can be helpful for some purposes. But otherwise, I appreciate the hint, Lenny, and I'll also continue advocating for sharing chats in Telegram Live because I think that there's a lot of benefits to that. And with that, looks like Jorge's having fun. I suppose we could start wrapping it up. I mean, we've been going a bit longer in past meetings, but maybe it's better to keep the meeting shorter so we're not sitting in front of a computer screen for so long. And I think everybody's enjoyed the meeting, so I really appreciate that. The topics that were on the agenda after using Notion as a collaborative tool, our mission that I proposed, and I proposed the Eden Fractal Participant Agreement, and Perry proposed a topic of discussing our missing mission. I mean, if anybody wants to make any quick comments about that, then we can, but I would say we'd probably best to save those for next week. I plan to basically just repropose these 2 proposals that I made next week, and I also made 2 topics in the Telegram chat, one for mission and agreements. So I'd encourage and appreciate everyone to check out those. And if you have thoughts about the mission or about agreements, then please share it in the Telegram chat. And also feel free to reach out to me too. I think that these are both really exciting topics I'm looking forward to discussing. And also Perry discussing our missing mission. I'm looking forward to hearing more of your thoughts about that too. So if you'd like to repropose that for next week, as well as we mentioned to DOS, maybe proposing a topic for Git and firmament and stuff, it'd be great to hear from that as well. And if anybody else wants to make proposals for topics next week on Consortium, then I think you all know how to do that, and encourage everybody to both propose topics and vote on topics. I see Lenny said, have a great day. You need to slip away. Rosemary, thanks all. Thank you. Great to hear from everybody. Should we wrap it up now? I'm happy to also keep it going for a call off the record if we want to keep it. And I'll probably stick around and listen and stuff like that. But I think this might be a good time to just wrap up the recording if everybody's up for it. Or does anybody have anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I would just make a final note that we continue to defer our discussion of the mission. And I think we can do better than that. I think the mission is really the primary thing. And since we've been going since June and we don't have a mission, it's kind of odd. And I think that needs to be addressed. So, I would encourage people to strongly consider proposals that encourage us as a group to talk about our mission. What are we doing? I think that's important.
Good point. Thanks, Perry. And I suppose maybe I'll take the opportunity too, where I'll just briefly share my proposal. I'm very curious if anybody has any thoughts about this, because this is, I'm happy to go with different missions as well, but right now I think that it'd be great to propose and approve a mission. I made a mission, or rather I made a proposal. Our mission is to help people collaborate, create public goods, and empower communities. Also, there's Perry's proposal about discussing our mission too, some things that you shared there. So I would love, this was the next topic on the list too, and I'm able to stick around for longer if we want to keep some discussion of the mission on recording, but I'd love to hear what people think about this. I suppose I'll just briefly introduce it. I see Patrick has hands up too, so I'll pass it on to you, Patrick, in a moment. But first, I'd like to just share this mission because I think that Perry's right. It is a really important topic, and since we're here all together, it's good to discuss it. Well, it's past the time to approve proposals, but perhaps this discussion can help us approve a proposal for next week. I'd also like to comment too. Dash shared a really interesting article that I read this morning in the mission Telegram chat. It's called Inherent Conflict in Defining Mission Statements for Democratic Organizations. So if you'd like to speak to that a little bit, Das, then I'd love to hear it. But I suppose to provide my perspective on this, I think that, I mean, we've been working on the mission for a while. I've been curating resources on EdenCreators.com/mission about all the different mission proposals and discussions we've had. We discussed it a lot in week 30 and 31, and throughout the weeks there's been over 10 proposals, I think. And the way I see it, I was aiming to respond to Das's point. Das made a point that like there might be a conflict between having a previous mission and having a democratically decided mission. Just to briefly summarize it, but basically I think of it as like what delegates are doing. This is also something we discussed at the brainstorming session yesterday too. Like, delegates are expressing opinions on behalf of the community. We're electing people to help represent the group and express opinions to help make community decisions. And the way I see it, it's helpful to have a mission statement for many reasons. One, people are curious about it, and it can help us align around a common goal. To Das said something inspiring a week or two ago about imagine if we all had an alignment around a common goal and like we're all rowing in the same direction. Like that can be really powerful. And then also a mission helps inform how we play the Eden post facto consensus game too, because like when we're in the breakout rooms and somebody new joins, they're like, okay, what are we ranking on? And if you're like, well, we're ranking on the mission, and if say we're to approve this mission of helping people collaborate, creating public goods, empower communities, then it's like, okay, well, what have you done to either help people collaborate, create public goods, or empower communities? And that could be if you're helping EOS, that's a way to do that, or if you're helping, I don't know, any other way, basically. Like I think these are things that the world needs, and it's good to have a pretty general mission statement like that, but that's really positively focused. I think the thoughts that Eric shared about the vision also go along with that too, to help inform it more. But I would be happy to vote yes for this proposal in next week. I think it could be worded in different ways as well, but I think that these three things, helping people collaborate, creating public goods, and empowering communities, are a great way to go. And then we can always, in future weeks, change the mission. We can make a different proposal in 2 weeks or a month or 3 months from now, or whatever, and see how it goes and take it. But at least for the time being, it's just the community coming together to express an opinion. This is a mission that we're cool with sharing, and then take it from there, basically. I saw, well, I see Perry unmuted, but also I see Patrick is giving hearts and party flowers and stuff like that. And Patrick had his hands up first. So first I'll pass on to Patrick and then Perry. And then if Tadashi, you want to share more of the article, if anybody else wants to share, then love to hear it as well. And I suppose we won't go on for too long because we still have been here for a long time. Maybe we'll extend it for another 15, 20 minutes or so. Patrick?
Yes, we are since June here, and I am very happy because it's all about building a collaborative culture. We could have already a mission, and what? We are creating the processes how it should be. Web3 collaboration, the best experience possible, as you say always, Dan. More I continue, more I arrive to the conclusion that's so true. And the brainstorming session of yesterday was opening my mind very wide, because when I was editing the brainstorming session after our brainstorming session of yesterday, putting the puzzle together, that was a great one. When you take the fruit of this discussion of yesterday, that was very nice, because we were discussing about the role of a delegate. So if you think about to speak first about the goal of each process, of each thing, then that could emerge nice mission, nice vision, nice values. Because if you do the inverse and you create the mission first, that's paradoxal, huh? By the way. You create the mission first and then you try to do to all derivated of this mission. You could be biased by your mission itself. You could be, let's say, not doing the things indeed naturally. And what we are doing here, week after week, we improve the things, we try to create the good processes, because that's very important to move onto this hidden fractal, into this hidden fractal, and have the best collaboration with the people. And then put all that into a Notion or whatever. That's just a tool. Use it. Exactly. That's just a tool. Then if you don't have the people that want to collaborate, the tools means nothing. The technology means nothing. So paradoxically, I say paradoxically because in the current startup world and enterprise, we are educated like create your mission, then create your vision, and then you will create your ship. I will say experiment, try. And here we do that since June. And to answer to Perry, on your talk about why we don't have a mission yet. Oh, we are here since June. Why is that? Why is that? I will say, on one side, I understand for the people watching this from the external, they could say, what? They don't have a mission and they are here since June. What's the, huh? But on another side, I say, hopefully that we don't have yet a mission because we have to arrange our house first. Our house is not very well arranged. We have to arrange some processes, like the role of a delegate that we were trying to answer yesterday. We have not yet the answers. We were just giving our opinions. That's why the takeaway of yesterday, that was we share our opinions. I tried to be the most open mind possible. And I stated, okay, we do a pause. We will come back on those brainstorming sessions when the time comes, because I think the best place to brainstorm indeed, it's here into this hidden fractal that we have to brainstorm where we are into the main room. All has already stated into those brainstorming sessions, 7 episodes since November last year. That was a proof of concept. Now I have nothing more to add. We have nothing more to add because we have all the tools on the table. All is on the table, but we have to arrange all that. And then we will find our mission. And I think the mission of Dan into the Discord, into the consortium today, build public goods, build collaboration. I don't remember the sentence of Dancing Joy, but it's about collaboration. It's about the human, the people, collaborating between them and with public goods. That's what we want. We cannot decide we want to be the fractal of the NFTs or the fractal of a specific thing. We are here to help others to create their dreams thanks to the tools that we are creating here, by creating the Telegram bot, by creating a Discord bot. By the way, very nice also Discord, because you can do subcategory of categories. So that's a nice knowledge base also, Discord, if you do that very well. So we create the tools, the precedent for other communities to see the values that we have here, and that we are building a collaborative culture around EOS. We are striving the collaborative culture around EOS. We are a catalyst. So thank you to don't have maybe yet a mission. I just arrived to this conclusion by hearing today. And yesterday I was thinking, yeah, paradoxically, we complain sometimes that we don't have a mission, but I am happy to don't have yet this mission and to be focused on the processes. That's my opinion. Again, all what I say is my opinion for sure. And yeah, I am very happy to be with you guys here. Noam, Jorge, Viva Colombia, mi país, mi rentes, Empalani Victor, very good guy, and all the guys that were here, Tadas Vlad, that living. I am happy to join again the Hidden Fractal. There will be Hidden Fractal updates. We will show what we are doing here, and we will have a mission. I am convinced we will have a mission. I have no stress on the shoulder, someone telling me we should have a mission, we should have a mission. That will come, that will come. Be happy, that's all.
Be happy. That's all. Thank you very much, Patrick, for the great insights and your opinions, and also all the inspiring words as well. And I'm very happy to be working with you and very happy to work with everyone as well. Before passing on to Perry, I'm just going to add just one quick comment on that too. I think I'm also in agreement too. Like I'm proposing this mission. I think it's a good idea to have a mission. But I also understand why it's taken us a while to define a mission, like with consensus. I think all of us have been operating with similar missions, like in our minds. But to actually come to a consensus on a mission, there's lots of different people that have different perspectives, so it takes time to come to that consensus. And I was writing about this with Noam yesterday, actually. Like it takes a while because we're dealing with so many new concepts. People speak different dialects and so forth. So it takes time, but I'm really excited about the path that we're on. Looks like Perry was able to join back. So I know you had your hands up, Perry. You missed a moment, but I think you caught everything pretty much. Feel free to let me know if you want anything to be repeated, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this, Perry.
Yeah, I just want to illustrate my point by the thought experiment of going to work for a company and you're in a job interview and the company has no mission. So how would that work out? And then the other thing I want to note is the person who is vocalizing strongly for no mission has been the person who has been contributing all the money to the most amount of people by a wide margin. So I don't think those are unrelated. Those are related dynamics, and I think those should be taken note of. So we're here from June with no mission, and the person who's been contributing the most money, driving what has most of the development of the group, is continuing to drive for no mission. So I think that doesn't lend itself to a decentralized governance or decentralized group. And I hope that we take notice of that and make ourselves aware of that and be open to changing that.
Okay. First off, I see Jorge said, all right, guys, leaving now. Let's hope for the best. Thank you, Jorge. Let's hope for the best. Hope you have a great week. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Hope you're doing well. So a couple of different things. One, Perry, we had a discussion this week, and we also sent some messages back and forth about the points that you raised about Patrick funding. So I'm looking forward to following that up in private, or another time if you want to take up my offer to do another meeting about this. But I'm just going to move on, keep talking about the mission right now specifically.
I have an answer for you, and I'll post it publicly in our Telegram chat so everybody can hear my response to you. I don't think it's valuable that you shuffle this to the side. It's core to the entire group. So I'll leave. I'll see you guys later. I'll let you continue the discussion. But this is so important that I'm going to make that point. So thank you.
Okay, Perry. Well, first off, you don't need to leave. I'd appreciate you hearing my point here in response to what you're talking about the mission. But of course, you're welcome to, and I'm looking forward to seeing your response. And I also appreciate your drive to help the community very much. But yeah, anyway, I just don't want to go on too long that topic because I want to focus on the mission. And one point that I think is really important that I think helps answer your question, Perry. And to be clear, it's not just Patrick or any one individual who's pushing for no mission. I think that we all want to define a mission, and various people have been proposing missions. For example, Patrick proposed a mission last week too. But one article that I've mentioned so many times, and I might sound like a broken record now. There's some weird sound, by the way, so I'm just going to mute Perry and Patrick. I don't know. It's not any malintent, but it's just kind of like the scratching sound that kept happening. Feel free to unmute when you want to. Yeah, but one article that I mentioned, and if anybody hasn't read this, I really recommend people read it. I've read it so many times. It's called Mutually Benefiting from Misaligned Goals. And I think that we're just in a different situation. Like we're not in like the Fractally White Paper talks about how traditional organizations are autocratic. The values flow from the top. The values and instructions and all the value flows from the top. There's one person who's at the leadership position, and then they're basically telling everybody this is how we're going to do it. And that's how missions get defined in most organizations. I could show the image. What's that? Yeah.
Link in Telegram to what you're showing on the screen.
Yep. Thanks, Noam. I'll show that in a Telegram now. Yeah. So, well, I'll show it in a moment after I show it. So, yeah, there's that chart. It's in the Fractally White Paper. Perhaps I should show that too. But the Fractally White Paper has a great graph, and it's also in the it's in the keynote that Dan Larimer describes it. But if you go to the white paper and click download or view the white paper, right on near the top of the page, there's this description like right on one of the first page about first, it talks about how it helps create public goods, talks about what is a DAO and so forth. And then it gets this section over, well, I guess it's not that early, but yeah, on like the 15th page or whatever, it talks about how decentralized autonomous organizations like Eden Fractal, the values flow from the bottom to all the people, whereas archaic autocratic organizations, the values flow from the top, from a CEO. And so that's kind of naturally one of the things that's going on here, that we don't have a CEO who's dictating all these things. So we're all trying to figure out our consensus together.
We have Patrick paying everybody.
All right, so Perry, I already said that we're not going to discuss this topic right now. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in Telegram, but we've discussed this quite a bit. And just to be clear, Patrick isn't paying everybody. He's given helpful donations to people that he's worked for quite a bit, and he's not paying everybody. But anyway.
You're right. He's not paying me because I'm objecting.
He actually is paying you. He's been funding the Eden Fractal account.
Voila.
But anyway, let's move on from here.
That's not a request. That's not a request, Patrick. That's a point of fact.
Okay.
That's incredible.
And let's move on.
I love you, Perry.
Good.
I love you.
And those will be the last words about Perry and Patrick for now, I think. Unless you want to respond, Patrick, but I'd really rather not get into this right now.
Yeah, I want just to respond very quickly with all my heart, soul, and mind. Perry was just, let's say, I don't find the word in English, but he was fast. Okay, he was fast making the point now from where he's coming. All this, I don't know how to say, this animosity about me or about my behavior, or I don't know. I have just give some funds to this Eden Fractal because I love to collaborate since May already with Dancing Joy, and there was also Felix Ruiz. We started very small. And then we have many people joining, like Noam today, recently. That's nice. I am happy to be here. And to respond very clear, not to you, Perry, but in the absolute, I am okay to give again funds to Eden Fractal. I just make a pause. I don't want to be seen like just the only sponsor of this Eden Fractal. I encourage everyone to give something to the MSIG and distribute the fund. That's a very nice tool, the MSIG. We have the tools, as I said, and yes, there is some centralization. There is no truly decentralization. There is just distribution of the data at the most. That's what, for me, what matters. To be decentralized, really, there will be always some point of, let's say, centralization into the entire chain. You have always some part of centralization. So I am not here for that. I am here to have collaboration with the people. Believe me or not, I want just to be with Dancing Joy the most long possible that I can, with Noam, with others, and have a good collaboration with tools Web3 and MindWeb. I am on Pomelo Season 5. I am happy. I will help other projects. I will give them some funds also because I want to collaborate with them. I give funds where I see possible collaboration and I want to collaborate with. I am not just giving carrots and all those things. And I have not donated to the news. Oh, sorry about that. You will be on Pomelo. I will certainly give you some donation for the news.zone for sure, as I do with others.
Okay, Patrick.
I have nothing. No, just to be clear, I have nothing against helping the news.zone, giving some donation on Pomelo and collaborating with the news.zone. I have nothing about that. I am just here into this community since June, and I am happy to join again. And I don't want that every episode seems to be that that's not okay. But Dan, I will let you going on with Perry and educate him about what we are doing here.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Send me to
Patrick.
a camp. I need to go to an education camp.
Okay, so I'm just going to, as a moderator, say that we're not going to discuss this topic anymore. We're talking about the mission today. And Perry, we've discussed this. I sent you a long and thoughtful message, and I'm looking forward to hearing your response offline. But if anybody continues to talk about Patrick's funding, then they'll be muted. And for the record, I've also given 2,500 EOS to Eden Fractal Most people are volunteers who are volunteering their time. I wrote a very logically compelling and cohesive argument that disproves what you're saying here, Perry. And I'm not going to give you the opportunity to respond here because you have not yet followed up to respond to me. But I'm looking forward to discussing this more with you.
I have a response to you, and I've written it, and I'll post it within 60 seconds of me leaving this group.
Looking forward to hearing that. Thank you for your thoughts. And once again, I'll also just wrap up this part of the conversation by saying, one, let's focus back on the mission. Let's wrap it up soon. And then two, we do have some disagreements. That's a natural part of a community looking to cooperate. But I really appreciate y'all. I'm looking forward to working with y'all and cooperating better. Back to the topic. So I recommend people to check out the faculty white paper again, because we're talking about the mission. If we remember, we got a little sidetracked here, but we're talking about the mission and what is the mission of Eden Fractal. And that's one of the points I wanted to make, that's one of the reasons why it's been rather difficult to come to consensus. We've only been able to pass so many proposals, and it requires the community to learn how to cooperate and come to consensus to come to an agreement about what the mission is, whereas that's not possible in traditional autocratic organizations. There's an excellent article by James Mart. I haven't shared this in the chat yet, no, but I will. I really recommend people check it out, Mutually Benefiting from Misaligned Goals. And he talks about how there's always an emergent mission, and the mission to some extent is not stated formally by the community consensus. James Mark, he works for the faculty team. He's also a great builder in EOS. He's an amazing thinker. I've read his articles many times over and over again. But yeah, he talks about how people can benefit by working together and they can align their interests, but the article is called Mutually Benefiting from Misaligned Goals, because to some extent, there's always some misalignment. And even when we do propose a formal mission, which I think we should come to consensus as a group, there's always an emergent mission that comes from the personal missions, and there's nothing that changes that. And so that's already been happening, that I have my mission, Perry has his vision, Patrick has his vision, Noam has his vision, and all of them are very aligned in many ways. So I think that's an important point to make clear. There is an important role for personal missions in addition to community missions, and I think that they both play a helpful role. And definitely check out this article. Also wanted to show too, I mentioned before, I've been carrying the article at edencares.com/mission, where people can check out, I have to update this more, but I've been curating various proposals from myself, Vlad, Eric, Patrick, Perry, Gabriel, Marco. People have made a lot of great proposals here. So you can check out edencares.com/mission. I've just been doing my best to curate it. CEC was helping for a while too, where you can see some of the recent progress we discussed and so forth. If anyone wants to help out with any of these notes, then that would be appreciated, because I do need some organization, but you can find timestamps basically to see all the discussions about proposals from reading 29 and 30 and so forth. And then I also put together the vision article, which I shared last week and updated. I also, my incentive or my inspiration for the mission I proposed about helping people collaborate, creating public goods and empowering creators or empowering communities. I spoke with this with Vlad too. So if anybody hasn't checked out this, then I encourage people to check this out. The first 20 minutes, we hone in on the mission. Lastly, I want to thank once again Noam for starting the mission chat. I renamed it a little bit, but I really appreciate all your comments there, Noam, on the YouTube video and here, as well as Patrick and everybody who's been participating in the mission discussions. So I encourage everybody to check this out, as well as Sadas's new article about potential conflict with missions. You can check out my posts and all these links here, and I'll share it in the live chat as well. And then last thing, I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up. If anybody wants to share any last minute comments regarding the mission or general thoughts about how we're doing and so forth like that, then feel free to add at the end. But I also want to promote all the great events that are going on. And Perry is creating DNews for a while, and it has a great resource for many videos in the community. But one thing that I think is really helpful for our purposes here is sharing the events on the calendar. So we have a fireside chat coming up hosted by the ENF in just a couple hours from now. The Alien Worlds Fractal Meetup, I'm doing a lot of collaborations with them and super excited about it. That's happening tomorrow at 16 UTC. There's also the giveaway show by your support. I join the Heliosphere Spaces along with Perry every week on 17 UTC on Friday. The town halls on Sunday. There's also the Chief Delegate calls that are coming up that Patrick has been hosting on Thursday at I believe 20 UTC, Spanish speaking Fractal, and much more. That's at dnews.zone. I'll add all the links to the description, of course, as I figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Thank you everybody for everything that was doing in the community.
For me to get onto the Alien Worlds meeting.
What's that?
The last two times I tried to join the Alien World Zoom meeting, I didn't get in. And then I just gave up.
Okay.
If it's happening today, would you be able to facilitate that?
Yeah, it happens tomorrow. I messaged you 2 weeks ago about it because there's a bit of confusion because Lisa's hosting the Alien Worlds Interplanetary Unconference at 16 UTC, and Dwayne usually hosts the Crown DAC community call, which is focused on Alien Worlds at 17 UTC. So it would be one of those Zoom links. You might have to try both those Zoom links, but I'll follow up with you and I'll let you know both the Zoom links so you can be sure to join next week, or rather
Okay.
tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to seeing you
tomorrow.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, 16 UTC or 17 UTC. I'm not sure if the unconference is happening tomorrow, but either one of those times, and I'll follow up with you to share a link. It's also in our chat too. If you scroll up a little bit too, then you can find it in case I forget, but
Okay.
I'll make a note to share that with you. Thanks, Noam, for all the great questions. Also, I mentioned that I really appreciate Rosmari for helping lead so many initiatives with Eden Fractal since she joined, and I'll absolutely say the same for you too, Noam. It's been great getting to know you over the past couple weeks, and I'm really excited about all the ways you've been contributing. So thank you for your interest in joining the Alien Worlds Fractal, as well as all the work you've been doing with the mission and sharing all these great thoughts. And thank you, Patrick and Perry and Joe. Joe's also doing great work too. Everybody's doing great work. So I suppose I've been talking for a while now, so time to wrap it up, I think. Does anybody have any last comments or any last thoughts before we wrap it up? And if not, then I suppose we could wrap it up maybe with a go.
I just want to I'll make one final comment. I'm getting requests to discuss these things in private, and I would encourage us to discuss these things in public. I think these are important, that we publicly discuss these things. These are important. So that's my thought. I think that's part of a decentralized group. And I think that these are important, that everyone gets to share these. It's going to be on video, and that's awesome. It's even better if there are more people, we discuss them earlier on. So I think I just want to encourage that we discuss the mission. We just get to the mission. It's the most important thing, and everything else should flow from that. That's my final message. So thank you very much, Dan, for hosting and everybody's attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Perry. I appreciate it a lot too. And those are great points. It's also a good opportunity to encourage people to vote on the topics on consortium. So this week there are only 3 people who voted. So everybody can use their Eden that they've earned to help prioritize topics, so that we can push those topics to the top. I'll be certainly proposing the mission again, and I'm looking forward to discussing it, hopefully next week. But yeah, it's also just managing priorities too, because I think the consortium was a really helpful discussion too. So we just have to figure out the best way to do it. And then also, of course, we have the Telegram chat and other offline places, and we can also meet in other meetings in addition to discuss more of these as well. But
just as a point of the process, if I vote all of my Eden on my proposal, and it exceeds the total amount of Eden of another proposal, of all the other proposals, even though I'm just one voter, does mine go to the top, or does it require multiple voters?
No, currently the way the system is designed is just with how many Eden are voted for it. So if one person has, I don't know, 500, and there's 4 people who have 100 each, then currently the system is set that where the 500 would have priority over the 400. These are all changes we could make. I mean, that's mostly there just because it's for simplicity, because that's how the consortium platform works. Vlad has suggested implementing a quadratic equation in there to balance it out more. And in general, like
quadratic voting, not quadratic equation.
Yeah, quadratic equation applied to the voting, which would basically spread it out more. But yeah, that's
a quadratic equation has a different meaning.
Okay, it's some sort of quadratic formula that.
Yes, it is. It's quadratic voting. Yes.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you for the clarification. And yeah, so just to be clear, that's currently the way it works, Barry. But this is also an area that we can actively improve on as well. And that's one of the reasons why some people don't vote too. Like myself, I don't want to necessarily exert too much influence because I've been participating in all the meetings and have more even. So some people don't vote for that reason, or just vote with a little bit. But that's currently the way that the system in the game works. And
Thanks.
Thank you for asking.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Is there some place where it says who has how much Eden?
Yes, you could check out on the Block Explorer. I'll send the link in the Telegram chat as well. If you go into the
I
Eden.fractal
think
account and you
that
go to
link
token account.
should be in the welcome document in the first 2 pages any newcomer sees.
Cool. Sounds good. Good feedback. Looking forward to coming out with more details with the welcome document too, and we'll write that down. Thank you. Really appreciate all the thoughtful feedback, Noam and Perry. I suppose we should probably wrap it up because we've been going for over 3 hours now. If nobody has any further comments, then I'd say we wrap it up. Is everybody up for a go Eden, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, I'm up for my traditional exit. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll do the countdown. 3, 2, 1, and go Eden.
Go
See you
Eden.
later, everybody.
Go Eden Fractal.
Go Eden Fractal. All right, cool. Thanks so much, Patrick, Noam, and Fisher and
Dan,
Joe.
can you stay with
Thanks everybody
me
for
and
watching.
work on the wallets?
Yeah, well, I'll stop recording now, and then
Yeah,
I'll stay on. Okay, but see everybody. Thanks for
Okay.
watching.